EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. An unbelievable game, a wild game with turnovers, with bad decisions, with injuries, with a boatload of yards, and a couple clutch performances that results in a Philadelphia Eagles win. Eagles win 15-12 in New Orleans. That's Dan Sileo, host of the National Football Show, a Miami Hurricanes legend and a 1987 national champion. We'll be joined in a couple moments here by John McMullen, getting ready to getting set up on his computer now. Big Sills, what an unbelievable game. Eagles walk out of here with a win. Pretty wild, man, that game. Back and forth, yards, interceptions, turnovers, you got everything in that game, but the Eagles walk out of it with a win. What's your first takeaways after watching that game?
And poor coaching decisions once again by Nick Sirianni, the head football coach. Decision makings all over that place were just absolutely a hallmark of that game. Eagles should have won that game by 15 points. I mean, at the end of the day, give it to the defense. They totally showed up today. Secondary-wise, stopping the run, they really had the best game of the year so far. That was a really nice performance. And again, pressure, they started pressuring Carr a little more. I thought that the center going out was going to be a benefit. I didn't really appreciate the immaturity at the end of the game by Jalen Carter. I know Jalen Carter's probably releasing frustration, and Zander just said something to me too. He's like, hey, listen, you probably talked a lot of crap. No question about it. I get it. And for Sirianni and Big Dom and those guys to make an issue of that after the game, he kind of threw gasoline on that. So, I mean, it was really a chaotic football game for the Eagles. I mean, the Jalen Hurts numbers are going to be misleading. He was awful in the pocket. He still rolls right. He holds the ball too long. I mean, at the end of the day, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and the Eagle defense won that football game, in my opinion. And get this, too. You got to remember something here, Zander, in the NFL. This is not a beauty pageant. You're not being evaluated or graded on how it looks. You're now sitting at 2-1. You get away with it without A.J. Brown being on the field. You have to walk and get on that airplane and go, we're 2-1, and now we got the Buccaneers on the other side of this. A lot of work to be done, but a lot of question marks heading out of that game. But the defense did show up. The offense, you know, they lose people in the O-line. Lane Johnson is a miss. Obviously, Micaiah Becton hurting his arm. For all in all, Zander, I mean, they hung in there. And they gutted that win out.
You know what, Big Sills, I'm going to push back on you. I'm going to push back on you on one thing with Jalen Hurts. And I know the stats might be a little misleading, but I called on him all week to rise up, to be the elite quarterback, to win the game when A.J. Brown's out. They needed 69 yards, and they had a minute and 50 seconds to do it. They had no Lane Johnson. They had no A.J. Brown. They had no Devontae Smith. And they had Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert. Now, granted, 60-yard gain by Dallas Goedert, obviously huge. Jalen Hurts marched right down that football field, and they won the game. I'm giving him a ton of credit for the win today. I thought he was great, other than the 2 turnovers, which you can be critical of. At the end of the day, he rose up. He was 29 of 38, looks like, for 311 yards for Jalen Hurts. He had the 1 interception. Saquon Barkley, 17 carries, 147 yards. Dallas Goedert, 10 receptions for 170 yards. Let's bring in our man, John McMullen. I'll get his key takeaways on this matchup here. Johnny Mac, welcome to the post-game show, brother. An unbelievable game, John. My open was a wild game with turnovers, with this bad decisions, with injuries, with a couple clutch performances and a boatload of yards. And the Eagles walk out of New Orleans at 2-1. Johnny Mac, your first takeaways on this win.
Yeah, pretty amazing win. I think we all had it going that way, did we? Forever, this is, to me, will be coined the Dallas Goedert game. I mean, it looked like all was lost. I think it was 3rd and 16, maybe, somewhere when they get the 61-yard route. Nice little concept. Jahan Dotson deserves some credit, finally contributing with that route. A couple Saints defenders run into each other. All of a sudden, he goes 61 yards. I feel bad for Zander. He's got to give away a jersey every week.
Don't feel bad about
65-yard
me,
run.
Johnny Heck. I just said it in the chat. We'll be giving away another Saquon jersey. So get your membership.
65-yard run, home run, man.
Home
I'll
run.
tell you, those home runs help. And I'll tell you what as well. Watch that play when you get a chance. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, phenomenal, just clearing things out, and then Saquon did the rest. The home run, 65 yards. And then the defense. I mean, the defense is the story of the day. All anybody talked about was the New Orleans offense. I told you guys in the pregame show, I just had a hunch. Derek Carr is Derek Carr. He's not going to play consistently from week to week to week. Not good. I think the Eric McCoy injury hurt them really, and that happened early in the game, but still. And the throw at the end of the game, give Reed Blankenship a ton. That is a difficult catch to keep that football off the turf. And he got it. Very similar to the Green Bay game, where he did the same thing. He remains the most underrated player on the Eagles. Great game by Jalen Carter. He's got to calm down at the end of the game, though. He was tremendous, even though you don't see the sacks. He dominated the game from the get-go. Zach Bond, up, down, back up in his return to New Orleans.
Yep.
He was all over the field.
Jordan Davis, too.
And they gave up. Jordan Davis had a great game. Brandon Graham closing it out with the big pass rush that forced
he was
Derek Carr
tremendous
to make that.
Brandon Graham.
Yeah, he always is. People, all they talk about is age. I said, look at the film. The guy can play. The guy can still play. 219 yards total offense for the New Orleans Saints. I would have bet the over if he gave me 219. I would have bet everything I've ever owned. Forget about what I own. Everything I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
They hold this team to 219 yards.
Yeah, the team stats are unbelievable. 460 total yards for the Eagles, as you mentioned, to 219 for the Saints. Jalen Hurts, I thought, John, we talked about it at halftime. The turnovers were concerning. But look, I thought he turned it around. I thought he had a good second half. He played sound football. They marched the game, marched right down the field, with 157. I'm looking, when they went down 5, and I'm like, okay, you got 157. Now you got all 3 timeouts. You got no Lane Johnson. You got no A.J. Brown. You got no Devontae Smith. I'm like, you're throwing to Paris Campbell and Johnny Wilson, trying to get a win in this game. And they marched right down. Dallas Goedert. But, still unbelievable.
And Jahan Dotson. Yeah, it was ugly. And you're like, what?
I got you, John.
Yeah, and Dallas, seemed a little bit disappointed before this week. And, I mentioned they couldn't game plan. They couldn't adjust the game plan without A.J. Brown last week. This week they could, and I said they better get Dallas Goedert involved. Well, they did in a big way. 10 receptions, 11 targets, 170 yards, and the big 61-yarder that set up the game-winning touchdown. Yeah, great performance. Overcame a lot. You mentioned the injuries. That's going to be a concern. But from all indications, Devontae Smith had a little bit of a pep in his step at the end of the game, and
that was a cheap play. I don't know.
You never know. Well, that was the defensive lineman coming back. He was getting pushed back, and he's just hustling. It wasn't a cheap shot from a hit standpoint. He got him in the back, but it was such a devastating, you think about the size difference from that perspective. So I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. I don't think it was a cheap shot, but it was just one of those things. And DeMonte's a tough guy. He'll be able to come back. Lane with the concussion. You never know how long these things are going to take. Sometimes they're quick. Sometimes they're not. Lane has more of a history of concussions, so that's probably a little bit more of a concern. They lost Mekhi Becton. I mean, I thought Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson did a really good job coming in game. Just a really solid. Now, you'd love to clean up some of those turnovers. I know people are going to harp on Nick Sirianni's aggression. I say, hey, welcome to Nick Sirianni. That's what he's going to do, good, bad, or indifferent. But defensively, you got to give Vic Fangio and his defense a lot of credit because they didn't look like they had any life whatsoever. This league is crazy. I mean, Denver goes into Tampa Bay. We're all talking about Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield this and Baker Mayfield that. Denver beats them 26-7 on the road. You never know in this league.
Yep, no doubt.
Another example, everybody talking about the New Orleans offense, and other than Chris Olave, and the Eagles did a really good job on Alvin Kamara, and he's a great player, but he had 87 yards rushing on 26 carries, so 3.3 yards per carry. And that's because the Eagles' defensive front was all over him. And Carr was brutal. And that's a testament to the Eagles.
No
Sam,
doubt.
Remember what you said? You asked at the end of the pregame show, you said, keys to the game. It was Barkley and Goddard the whole time. Now, it became more accentuated with the injury to Devontae Smith because they had to. But it really showed a little bit of vulnerability that the Saints defense had up the seam and up the hash marks in that game because Dallas Goedert, and by the way, the mismatches that they had on him, covering him, they couldn't cover him all day. Like you said, 10 catches, John, for 170.
No.
He was an absolute. And by the way, that pass, Zander, that you said, he marched the team. I'll tell you what he did do. He put players in position to make plays that are big-time players. That's play calling also by Kellen Moore, getting it to Goddard, getting it to Barkley. Those two guys were so great in that football game. And as you said, for Jalen, I thought he held on to the ball too long. He's still rolling right. He struggles a little bit, like you said, in the first 2 quarters and maybe even in the first 3 quarters. But he battled, and he came back in the fourth quarter.
He keeps coming, Big Sales. He keeps coming.
He does. And that's the one thing John says, too.
Yeah.
That he's a 60-minute guy, whether he's playing C+, A+.
Relentless. He's relentless.
He's going to be relentless and sticking to it. But, and again, once again, like you said, Zander, you got 20 games. In the last 20 games, he's got 26 turnovers. And he's still winning ball games, which is incredible. It's insane.
Oh, listen, Big Sales, you just said the 2 guys, though. You just said the 2 guys. And here's the stats for everybody. Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert today combined. 34 touches, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 65-yard touchdown run, obviously, for Saquon, a 61-yard catch to set up the game winner, a 2-point conversion. No AJ, no Smitty, no Becton or Lane. Those dudes took over the game today. No doubt. It was an unbelievable performance by both of those 2 players. I'm going to remind everybody in the chat, we will be giving away our second Saquon Barkley jersey. The link is pinned at the top. Become a member today. We'll be doing that on Birds 365 later in the week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. So look out for that. Guys, next topic I want to get to, and Dan, I'm going to start with you on this one, is Nick Sirianni, right? A lot of flack today he got. I'm going to get to all super chats, by the way, later in the show, but this one is about Nick Sirianni. Terry, thank you for your support. Terry says, definitely got to get rid of the head coach. You almost ruined the game. You win that game in a tight one. Nick made some costly decisions, though, in that game that are going to be under the microscope all week long. Dan, I'm going to go to you first on this. What's your thoughts on Nick Sirianni coming out of that game and some of the decisions he made in the football game?
Okay, I'll do it again. Decision-making by the head coach, again, it's been spotty since the beginning of the year. I mean, here's what you got to look at with him. Do you agree that you're going on the road for a second week in a row without your best player on the football team? Then you lose your second or third best player, Devontae Smith. Then you lose half your offensive line. Points are a premium. You have got to take points on the road in a place like that where there's not a lot of points being scored. Look, like John says, welcome to, or you say it too, Zander, welcome to the world of Nick Sirianni at being aggressive. He wasn't very good even on the 4th downs. That's not the same tush-push team without Jason Kelce. They are not. They're not the same team. And with the quarterback not having all of his weapons out there, I'm taking the for sure opportunity at getting my points. Take the points. You're on the road, as I said, hostile environment. The other team's not playing great. Your defense is playing lights out. I mean, we thought at times this thing was going to be an over 55-point game. You thought points were going to be put up, And all of a sudden, there weren't any points. Defense showed up. I mean, I don't know. Some of the decision at the end of the football game, the way that he was involved in those decisions going into the half and into the end of the ball game, I don't know, John. I mean, I completely disagree with people that when you look at his game management, this was something Andy Reid struggled with in Philly, was game management. This guy's not he's not adverse not to criticism as well.
I don't think fourth downs are about game management as much as from the perspective you're talking about Andy and this. And by the way, I mean, Andy might be the greatest coach of all time at this point. He's easily top 10. You can make a very strong argument he's top 5. And you still got people in this town that say he's terrible at game management. Well, he's done pretty well with his terrible ability to manage games. What does fourth down have to do with game management? I mean, and you look at particularly, they were 1 for 3, right? They're 1 for 3. And the 2 they missed, and Greg Olson did a great job on the broadcast explaining one of them. Dallas Goedert's wide open. And Jahan Dotson's not getting not getting out of the way as the decoy, and Jalen Hurts has got to eat the ball. So that's a good play call by, similar to last week with Saquon dropping the football. That's a good play call by Kellen Moore. It's going to succeed. Lack of execution, in this case by Jahan Dotson. Going away from the tush push and getting a little bit too cute to Saquon Barkley. I thought that was a mistake, not only from the standpoint of getting too cute, but also, what are you going to do at that late juncture? You only got 1 or 2 more plays. So I would have taken the field goal there. But these are not egregious mistakes. The one, and again, Zander knows what I'm going to say here. People don't judge play calls. They judge play results. When they go for it in fourth down against Green Bay, everybody loves it. When they don't get it, everybody hates it. It's understandable human nature. But you got a play dialed up, it's going to work, and Jahan Dotson does the wrong route, is in the way. All right, maybe still learning the offense. Maybe from that perspective, you want to blame the coaching staff, blame them for that. They should know maybe he's not ready for this. And then you say, go in a different direction. I can't play this game of, it didn't work. That's a bad decision.
Why would you dial up a play for a guy that's not ready then? How that's decision making, John. If you're
they didn't dial up the play. They dialed up the play for the play for the guy who caught 10 passes for 170 yards. The other guy got in the way. They didn't dial up the play for Jahan Dotson.
Okay,
he didn't do a simple job of being a
There's
decoy.
nobody on the planet who would think that was a well thought out decisional making football game by the head coach. No one in their right mind would think that. Nobody would.
Yeah, but I don't think people think about it the right way. Again, Zander, I've talked to Zander about this. You could go on Google. I encourage everybody. I say Google just in life how to make good decisions. First thing you're going to read: good decision doesn't guarantee good outcome. Everybody thinks it does. It doesn't. Think about your own life. Everybody. You make good decisions. Sometimes you get a bad outcome because guess what? Life gets messy. Things get in the way. In the case of pro football, execution gets in the way. That was the third down, so it's not a fourth down. But a third down call last week, anybody who wants to say that was a bad play call doesn't understand what they're looking at. The guy's wide open to your best player. It's a 1-yard pass, an extension of the running game. You drop the football. That's not bad. That's a lack of execution. That's not a bad decision. There's 2 different things. In the case of Dotson, bad execution. In the case of getting too cute on the tush push, that's probably a bad decision, or more so. But you can make the argument if it's executed. I got to look at the play. I got to see how it was blocked. It's very difficult to make these judgments right away. It didn't look like he had much room. So, they probably got too cute, but as teams get more into this tush push, and I've said this pretty consistently with the tush push, I'd go completely away from it because now everybody's hyper focused on stopping it. I'd spread the field and let Jalen Hurts do a conventional quarterback sneak. I think that would be more effective at this stage. And these are all things the coaching staff should be discussing. But yeah, I can't say a bad outcome is necessarily a bad decision. The Eagles have been the forefront, and forget about Nick Sirianni. This goes back to Doug Peterson. They've been at the forefront of this league when it comes to aggression, and it has served them well. So to all of a sudden show up on one particular Sunday and say, you shouldn't do that anymore, I don't agree with that. I don't.
Yeah, I think there's been a blanket of analytics though that are over every decision, and it's like, if the analytics say do it, that's what we're going to do every time. Every game has a different feel, different moment, a different. I mean, the end of the half. The end of the half is the best example though. Everybody retweets the thing. Oh, they say to take the field. I don't need analytics to tell me you should take a field goal when you're down 3-0 in a game where points are hard to come by. Take the damn field goal. There's 14 seconds on the clock.
On the road.
I think we're overthinking some of these decisions, and I think that's where Big Sills is coming
from.
Well,
on the fourth and 4, the analytics said take the field goal. They didn't. They don't listen just to the analytics. That's the point. They're aggressive. They're aggressive by nature because they think aggression over the long haul serves you well. They've already proven that's the case. Unfortunately, some other teams like Detroit have caught up, and they don't have as big as an advantage with that as they typically have had in the past. And maybe they should adjust because they used to have a huge advantage. It's become much lesser. But Detroit Dan Campbell dealt with the same thing. I say it all the time. The Lions were in position to execute to win an NFC championship game. Players didn't execute. Dan Campbell got killed for fourth down decisions. He got him there with aggression, and people want to say, oh, but you lost. You shouldn't have been aggressive. It's the reason why I was in the stinking game. That's why I kind of look at things a little bit differently.
Fair enough. Sills, last point, just because I want to move into this defense and continue to recap the game. I don't want to get stuck on Nick, but just any follow-up to why you think it was such a poorly executed.
Listen, again, he's in position. He's in a different position now. He's got nothing to do pretty much with the design of the plays any longer. He's more involved in decision-making when it comes to what play what John's talking about. Run the ball, throw a flare pass, go with the analytics. That's his job. And I cannot sit here and say that guy's done a good job in 3 games running the direction of the offense and running the direction of the football team. I won't. I think he's been inconsistent for the 3 weeks. Whether, again, and by the way, let's do this. This is not just one game. I'm talking about the collection of the 3 because that's a trend.
It's been very consistent.
When you see the trend of kind of,
it's been very. I would argue
mistakes.
I would argue it's been very consistent.
Yeah, of being inconsistent for sure.
He's aggressive. That's the consistency.
Okay,
but that's not inconsistent execution.
Well, that's not either. You're going with the analytics, John.
Decision making is pretty consistent.
Okay, so if you're aggressive, but you're using
not going
analytics,
with the. I just explained it.
Okay. I don't see the game. You're right.
How are you using analytics?
No, you're right. I don't.
How do you? So next gen stats say the analytics say take the field goal. They go the opposite way, and they're still going by the analytics.
So, John, you think they use applied analytics?
I don't get
putting a game plan together. You think that? You think they when they use the analytics, it's applied analytics. You think that that's what they do when they're making those decisions, especially down in the red zone? Or do you think they're doing it with gut, or do you think they're doing it with game flow?
Nick went on literally a 7-minute explanation last week. I encourage everybody to read it, find the transcript. They do studies on this kind of stuff all the time. And they lean on those particular studies that Nick Sirianni does, to the point where people were saying last week he dismissed the analytics, and Jeffrey Lurie's going to get upset by that because Jeffrey's very analytically driven. So the point, there were some people saying, oh boy, because Nick actually said anybody can go online and punch a bunch of numbers into 20 different websites and it tells you what to do. He doesn't do that. And some people thought, oh, you better watch it. Jeffrey believes in analytics, believes in aggression for the reason I just explained. I think he's got a better handle on why it's done, and why they do it. And by the way, they're 2-1, and they're a drop pass away from being 3-0. Has it been ugly? Sure, it's been ugly. But as typically, they're finding ways to win games. And one of the reasons why we talk about this being a 60-minute football team, because you can get fired up about stopping a fourth down here. You can get fired up about stopping a fourth down there, and they're going to be back and doing it again. And simple math, you don't need analytics to say, any team, one of the problems about the end of the game, when you're in a desperation situation as a defense trying to stop an offense, say an offense, any offense around the NFL, gets the football with 1:30 left, no timeouts, and they're down 4 points, you have to stop 4 plays, not 3 plays, all times. 10 yards, 4 plays. That ain't easy. So when you constantly put that stress on the opposing defense, you can say, and again, this is proven over dating back to Doug Peterson, long before Nick Sirianni. This is proven to be a successful way of doing business for the Philadelphia Eagles. Should they change? You can make the argument, but it's revisionist history to say it hasn't worked for them.
My only problem, Sills, real quick, just because my only problem.
How about what I'll agree with one thing John says here. You're winning ball games like this early. This is something that you build on, because you walk in, and I tried explaining this to people on our show by telling them, hey, if you're winning ugly now and your football team is playing C- football or C football, that's where you want to be if you're 2-1. Like John said, I don't want to be playing my best football and winning close games like that where there's not a lot of room to grow. Eagles are probably playing C football right now, okay? Look at the room to grow that they have by the end of the year. You're 2-1, like you said. You go on the road, and you've won against 2 opponents that are NFC potential playoff teams that you may face down the road, especially since down in the NFC South, Tampa got beat, like John said, and now you got everybody bunched up down there in that division. So you may see this team, again, like they saw Tampa last year, early in the year, not a good team. Then they saw Tampa in the playoffs, and Tampa was a completely different team. They were the opposite of the Eagles of a year ago. So you get out of a game like this with all the injuries they have. By the way, since I've been covering the team, John, for 4 years, we're looking at a collection of injuries now that, as great as 22 was, boy, I'll tell you what, you head into week 4 here with the Buccaneers, man, you got a mass unit now that you're going to have to put together here a little bit when you go play Tampa, because they're going to be a hungry football team too. John, you said this. I believe you talked about the war of attrition. This is right here what we're talking about with the war of attrition here. So, again, you get the win here. There's no question about it. But I'll ask you, Zander, are you ready to still put that team in a position where you would call them a Super Bowl contender?
I mean, not yet. I want to move on.
Not yet.
I want to get to the defense.
With a chance, too.
I get it. Let me move on here. I want to move to the defense. I just want to give my last point here on Sirianni, because I understand what both you are saying. I don't like approaching any decision in a vacuum, whether it's under the guise of analytics or under the guise of aggression. I believe there should be some critical decision making based on any given scenario. And I think that's why people are upset with Nick. There doesn't seem to be any of that. And John, you pointed it out. It's aggression. It's aggression all the time, no matter what's going on. And I think there should be more thought process that goes into it. So that would be my one pushback on Nick. I do want to move on to Jalen Carter, though, and that defense.
Well, he mixes it in.
Go ahead, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, he went on 4th and 4 early last week, and he didn't go for 4th and whatever 3 or 4. And people are saying it's not. It does differ. He decided to give Jake Elliott a chance to kick a 60-yard field goal, which didn't work out. It's not the same, but people only see the failures, and they forget about the successes because everything's great. They only see the failure, which I get it. Nick gets it. That's the life of a head coach, but it doesn't make it right. is all I'm trying to say.
Understood. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. I thought they were tremendous today. Only give up 12 points in a 15-12 win. I want to start with one guy, though, everybody, and that's Jalen Carter. We were hard on him all week after not showing up through the first 2 weeks of the year. He's the catalyst on this defense, and boy, was he a force to be reckoned with today. I'll also give a shout-out to Jordan Davis, who got a sack today. I thought he was much better today. Sills, I'm going to go to you with you. Former defensive tackle, a national champion defensive tackle on that 1987 Miami Hurricanes team, a starter on that football team. What did you see from the Eagles DTs today, namely Jalen Carter?
Outstanding. For as poorly as they played in the last game and not as great in their Packer game, there was a play in the middle there with Jalen Carter that was just a technique play. Engaged, wiped, tackled. And he tackled him for a TFL. I mean, there was so much technique, and maybe this goes back again to what Vic said earlier in the week when he had his last press conference. It's my job that we've got to go in there and teach technique. And there was. He had a sensational ball game and controlled the middle. John was right. When the Saints lost, I believe on the third or fourth play of the game, they lost their center. They had to start having a makeshift offensive line. The Eagles were able to adapt better with what they did with their guys and Steen and Johnson than what I thought the Saints were able to do. I still thought Alvin Kamara got positive yards, and I still thought they broke down the edges. But, dude, if I had to look at guys in that front seven, there's no question the two tackles, Brandon Graham, once again, still showing up. MIA, SOS, the guy belongs on the Titanic. That guy, Bryce Huff, I don't even know if he played today. I didn't see Nolan Smith, but the guys who really did show up out there in that football game.
He was near the final play. I had to double check.
Hey, John, I'll tell you too, a couple times the Kobe Dean got beaten coverage, but once again, you know what he's doing? He's coming along. He's not playing great, but he's not killing you. Okay? He's not.
I think he's been great in tackling, dude. I think he's wrapped up people well. For being an undersized linebacker,
I'm not right, but in coverage, that's why I'm
dude.
saying in coverage, he's getting spun around. But in tackling, he's kind of there, and he's getting better in his pursuit angles. I thought he played well. I thought they picked on Mitchell a little bit, as much as Carr could get to. But, John, I thought the big part of that game was that they got the internal pressure on Carr up the middle. He couldn't step up in the pocket, and he couldn't elevate the pocket because he couldn't look downfield because of the interior pressure.
Yeah, and I think it started early with Jalen Carter. And Jalen, look, he called his own performance trash during the week, and he showed up and he had a fire lit under him, and he played well. Brandon Graham late in the game, he played well. You mentioned Jordan Davis, Zach Bond. You know, you talk about linebackers and coverage. He got beat by Alvin Kamara down the sideline once. No, linebackers can't cover. That's another one of my pet peeves. And everybody, hey, we got to need a linebacker that covers. Fine. Yeah, all right, go find. That's not named Fred Warner. Go find one. That's why you try to get him in space. And as long as you can do the other stuff. So I thought, but today I thought it was about Jalen Carter. Brandon Graham on that fourth down stop of New Orleans took on two blockers and basically pushed one of them into Kamara. And even the second effort, came up a little bit short because of Brandon Graham. And I'm losing my voice, but he was tremendous at 36 years old. Brandon Graham, can't say enough about him. He set the edge. He set the tone coming off that bad week. I don't even get, like I said in the pregame show, guys, I don't even care about Bryce Huff in the run game anymore. As long as Brandon's healthy, use him. Use him.
Yeah.
I
just thought the whole defense, they played. You know what it looked like too, John? It looked like there was an energy. It looked like a sense of urgency. I mean, you said it, and you called it right. I don't believe the Saints are going to show up today. Well, I think a lot of that had to do with the aggressiveness of what the Eagle defense. I think the Eagle defense punched them in the mouth, and I think New Orleans was kind of shocked because they had been looking at the tape. They had been watching the tape, And let's face it then, if you put a performance like that out against New Orleans Saints, you clearly can say this about the Eagles. They've underachieved, which is actually a good thing instead of saying, well, they have suck-ass talent. Now they just got to elevate their talent week in and week out and play like that. You elevate your talent and play like that week in and week out with high energy, you're going to get blocked in this league. I don't care if you're Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, or you're Myles Garrett. You're going to get blocked in this league. But if you maintain the energy level that you had, like you played with today, I thought the secondary played with energy, kept everything underneath. That was, in my opinion, like John said, it was the Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and the defense show. That's what won that football game in a very, very tough place. On the road, you get to win, and you're now 2-1 heading to Tampa. And who knows what's next in store.
Yeah, no doubt. Big win there for the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to get our first.
Yeah, I don't like it's yeah.
Go ahead, John, you're a little delayed, so I think that's why you're cutting it. That's all right. Go ahead.
I evidently, yeah, I'm on a little bit of a lag, so I apologize. I don't know what's going on, but from the standpoint of what they did defensively, about the only thing New Orleans had was Chris Olave. The Eagles could not do anything with Chris Olave. He's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. 6 targets, 6 completions, 86 yards, the touchdown. They went right to him after Darius Slay. By the way, that's an injury I didn't mention. Very concerned about Slay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that penalty.
They went right after Ringo. But the point about Derek Carr, if you speed him up, he's not that good. And the Eagles were able to speed him up. There weren't a lot of sacks, only one by Jordan Davis. Bunch of hurries by Jalen Carter. Big hurry late by Brandon Graham. But they sped him up. And he's not very good when you speed him up. And the few times they didn't, he had big throws to Olave or the one to Kamara I mentioned against Zach Bond, but very little. And I'll be very, because Tampa lost 26-7. So got to learn. This is a week-to-week league. I don't like that score from the Eagles' purposes because Tampa Bay is going to come into that game next week with a bee in their bonnet, and they're going to play differently. That's sort of the way this league works, and that's why I was concerned about New Orleans coming into this game. Everybody's giving them their flowers, and they showed up, and they were snipping their flowers, and they showed up, and they didn't play well.
Hey, Xander, the only thing I'll say about Lane Johnson that concerns me is that I thought he had an illness, but then when they said concussions, and you see him over there throwing up, I've only seen that 4 times in my life where a player gets concussions and he's throwing up on the sidelines. You see, there's levels and grade levels of concussions, 1, 2, and 3. That to me looks like a grade 1 concussion. So that's how they put it through the NFL Players Association with protocol. Neurologists will come in and they'll make a call on that depending on what the protocols they have set up for the player on concussions, and they'll grade that. So length of time could be determined here. Like the Tua stuff is grade 1. Here, when you see a guy like that doing that, and John, I know you've been on many sidelines, but when a guy throws up from a concussion, that's a pretty severe one. And it wasn't anything anybody hit him with. It's when his head hit the turf.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's usually where you get your concussions and your big sprain concussions coming off the turf. And that New Orleans turf is one of the toughest turfs to get away from. A lot of people end up getting hurt on that thing.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to get to our first commercial break here in the show. We'll come back. We'll get into the play of Jalen Hurts today. We're going to talk some of the injuries. Before I do that, I want to hit a couple super chats. I want to remind everybody in the show today, Saquon Barkley went over 125, so we'll be giving away another Saquon Barkley jersey this week to one of our channel members. So become a member today. The link to join is pinned in the chat. A couple super chats here before I get to our break. Jason A-Team checks in. JAKIB is the best. Appreciate you, Jason. Man, what a game today. Goddard and Barkley need my jersey this week. Carter and Davis were awesome together, tag teaming everything. Beyond impressed this week. Office is suspect, but hey, we'll take it. Jason, appreciate the support of the show, man. I agree with all of your takes there. Terry Hayes, I already hit you. ARS Bench says, love seeing Johnny Mack and Dan Sileo after an Eagles W. Defense did work today. Appreciate it, ARS Bench. And one more super chat before we get to our commercial break. Relative Time Work says, Sillsman, Jimmy Johnson crushed Sirianni at halftime. Just coach the game the way it's supposed to be played and you win. Spot on. I'll defer to Jimmy Johnson's wisdom every time. Good super chat there from Relative Time Works. Great stuff, everybody. Thank you all in the chat. Hit that like button. The JAKIB
Hang on, Zander. I got to tell John McMullen one thing. John, you're like sitting at a dinner table with my family member. I still feel the guy who hollers the loudest wins the argument. So, hey, I don't know.
Listen, it's a good argument. You guys both made great
Good stuff, man.
Great stuff. Let's get to our commercial break.
Zander knows. Zander's got to deal with me. Yeah.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. I
said Zander's got to deal with me every morning. So. Yeah, I'm in a lag, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
Good.
You're good. You're a couple seconds behind. Let's get to our commercial break. JAKIB Postgame Show. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned for more great conversation, entertaining debate, and more coming up next.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show, Week 3 edition, coming off a big win for the Philadelphia Eagles, 15-12. Big Sills, not the score I was expecting coming out of this football game. I want to go to Jalen Hurts. Johnny Mack will be with us in a second. He's working on his internet connection, something going wrong on that end. So we'll get him back in a second. But Big Sills, I'm going to our man, Jalen Hurts. Look, we talked about him all week long. I was critical of him all week long. You got to rise up. You got to be better. You got to make up for the loss of A.J. Brown. Well, he goes out there and gets a win today with no A.J. He loses Devontae. He loses two of his starting offensive linemen. Now, granted, he got help from Dallas Goedert and he got help from Saquon Barkley, but find me a quarterback in the league that doesn't get any help. Jalen Hurts today, I thought after those two turnovers, you take away those two plays, those two turnover plays, I thought he was terrific today. I'll give you a stat line real quick as well. He was 29 of 38 for 311. He had 0 touchdowns through the air and an interception. But overall, look, I thought he went out there and I thought he delivered the goods in the second half of that game. Big Sills, your thoughts on Jalen Hurts' play today? And here's Johnny Mack. We'll get him back up.
There were times in the ball game that you looked at Hurts' performance, and I thought that he played well in moments. But once again, he's not been consistent. There wasn't consistent football being played in that game. Now, again, you got to take into consideration this as well. Dennis Allen used to annihilate Tom Brady. Okay? I can't tell you, Tom Brady said one of the absolute worst coordinators to go against for him. I think he even had a losing record in Tampa versus Dennis Allen's defenses, even when they had Sean Payton as the head coach there. He would hold the same kind of stuff and Brady and his points down because that's just what that defense with that talent has. John pointed out a bunch of the players that they have at all levels. Wasn't like the Saints didn't play well. The Saints played well too, but here was the difference in the ball game. The offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles beat the line for the Saints, in my opinion. They rarely got to him. There was just some indecision-making and the rolling and the footwork, what have you, of Hurts. But I agree with you, Zander. You lose 2 O-linemen. You have none of your top-flight wide receivers in the ball game. And you come out with the victory. You find Goddard. You give it for him. You give it to him to make him make a play, and he did. By the way, Goddard made plays the entire afternoon. That's the job of a quarterback. It's the same thing that's being asked of Brock Purdy in San Francisco. Dude, I'm not looking for you to make the sensational play when you have sensational players that are on your field. In my opinion, today, Jalen Hurts made players around him better. And when you see how Goddard hadn't been involved, probably since when? A year ago? Then you look at Barkley's importance. There's no question. Saquon Barkley is the fuel that's fueling that engine right now and keeping that football team as consistent as it can be, because without him controlling the clock, they got problems because of injuries in the wide receiving core, the inconsistency of the quarterback. I still think he's coming along in that Kellen Moore offense. He still does a lot of things tendency-wise. The rolling right thing, they've got to stop that, man. When you watched Aaron Rodgers the other night, he was so unpredictable in what he was doing, rolling right or left. You can't keep that up. And, he stayed in the pocket a little more because I think he may have heard some of the comments that people were saying, or maybe he even looked at the film and said, I got to stay in the pocket. He stayed in the pocket. He held the ball too long. Why? He had lesser talent running routes. No disrespect to Jahan Dotson and whomever, Britton Covey. That's not A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith running routes. Okay,
yeah,
so
I don't think that's disrespectful.
More opportunity for those guys to have to mature. I think Jalen held on to the ball because he was trying to get these guys open. So, if you look at the one play down the sideline, you look at the rest of the play, no touchdowns and the turnovers continue, fumble and an INT. You still look at it and you go like this, a lot of room for improvement with him. But again, end of the day, he does the one thing John says. Hey, man, in a 12-round fight, and it's in a championship fight, Jalen's at his best in championship rounds, 11 and 12.
Yeah. And I rebooted, so hopefully I'm better. But I talk about it all the time. He's relentless. He's a 60-minute player. And even if you hold him down, he's got this almost cornerback-like mentality to forget the bad stuff and keep pushing. You mentioned Dennis Allen. He's a very good defensive coordinator, defensive-minded head coach. Now, Joe Wood's a very good coordinator in New Orleans. Look, sometimes I wish, football coaches could be like basketball coaches, and I would have called timeout and said, look, guys, Devontae Smith's not on the field. A.J. Brown's not on the field. All you got to worry about is Dallas Goedert. Even Britton Covey wasn't on the field. Yeah. You're talking about Paris Campbell, Jahan Dotson, who doesn't even know what he's doing, and Johnny Wilson. I would have said, box and one, Dallas Goedert.
I know, especially in that last play, John, where Saquon was really not a factor because they needed to get the ball down the field quick.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you can't do that in football. And look, Marcus Lattimore was one of those players. I don't know who was the other player, but Marcus Lattimore was one of the two that ran into each other that enabled Dallas to go for that 61-yard gain. And at some point, same thing I said about Nick Sirianni applies to Dennis Allen. You know, are you going to trust Marcus Lattimore in that situation? You should. He made a mistake, you know. So I look at Jalen Hurts in that interception. Guess what? That's on Devontae Smith. As great as a route runner Devontae Smith is, and he's one of the best in the NFL, that's a poor route. He left his quarterback hanging out to dry.
John, do you think that's what Nick said to Jalen when he came over to the sideline and he was talking to him that, hey, that INT wasn't on you, that was on the route? Could he have said something like that to him?
I mean, I'm sure the people upstairs, hard to see from the field, as you know, but I'm sure the people upstairs let him know. Yeah, that one was on Devontae. Or maybe you want to blame, because that's an AJ route. That's a big-bodied trust route in the middle of the field where you got to make sure you come across the defensive back space and almost play power forward. A, he's not the type of player to do that, Devontae Smith, but B, you expect him to at least run the right routes, and he didn't even do that. So you got to get way down to blame Devontae, number one, then blame Kellen Moore, and then blame Jalen Hurts if you want to. But I always say with turnovers, you got to look at them each individually. Now, the fumble, that's on Jalen Hurts all day.
Yeah.
You got to protect the ball better than that.
Yeah, he was careless.
Yeah, very careless. So, but overall, 29 of 38 with all this attrition that we mentioned, losing. You don't have AJ. You lose Covey early. You lose Devontae late. You lose your right guard. You lose your right tackle. That's a pretty good football game for Jalen Hurts. And are the points where you want them to be? No. But 460 yards against that particular team,
good.
That's pretty good. Now,
absolutely.
You know, 126 of them came on 2 plays. Saquon's home run and Dallas's 61-yard gain, but, you know, they count. And they put points on the board, both those plays. And essentially, that's what they needed. But I thought, considering the circumstances, I thought Jalen Hurts played very well, actually.
I agree.
How about this, Zander, before you answer here? That was a hard-hitting ball game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let me tell you something. The wood was out on both sides of the football in that game.
Yeah, which is why, you were hard on Jalen Carter Sills at the end, and I get it. He's got to clean that up. But the emotions were running
that
high.
That was the frustration of him not playing well last week and all that. But I'll tell you what. You want to know what a football game used to look like back in the day, them low-scoring, high-hitting games, high-volume hits? There were hits. I mean, that hit that Devontae took across the middle, that's as big as hit you'll see on a wide receiver with no flag. I could have.
That's because he was coming back to the play.
Hey John, I thought they could have called targeting on that thing because I thought he hit him in the head with his helmet because it knocked his helmet off.
Now they showed the replay. He got him in the back, but he hit him so hard his helmet popped off.
Unreal, man. That was some big hits.
And then it looked like somebody and another guy came on top of him. I don't, John. I kind of try and join you with not being critical of the refs, but I thought that play could have been blown dead, and it might have avoided some of that extra hitting.
But also, that's very loud environment as well. Now the Penning play, that was a dirty play. And we'll see
he'll be fine for that.
What's going on with Darius Slay? Hopefully it's not serious.
I thought that play was ridiculous.
Knee.
Trevor Penning just driving him. He's like driving him.
You want to hear something that John McMullen will know but doesn't want to say? You're telling me I got rid of Slay on a 15-yarder, and then I go back to him the next time? I got to tell you.
They went right after Kaylee Ringo.
Hey,
right after.
Remember, Greg Williams used to coach in that building.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so I'll just say this to you here. If you came to me and said I took Slay out and I took a 15-yarder, did that help me try to win my ball game? I'd be like this. Now, hey, I'm sorry.
That's hurt. The New Orleans Saints.
Now, look, that's the brutal truth, though, Sills.
Yeah, Sean
ahead,
Payton
John.
had to give up a year of coaching Greg Williams, and
Suspended.
they won a Super Bowl though.
They sure did.
Would you trade for that? I don't
No.
know. I would.
I want the
I'll
Super
get in
Bowl
trouble
win.
for that, but
I want the Super Bowl win. But again, nobody's trying to hurt anybody, Xander. But what you are doing is this. This is like John says. You can't say it's the war of attrition, and when the war of attrition hits, not every play's fair in the war of attrition.
no.
Some are going to be not fair. Some are. Aaron Rodgers' play when he got hurt last year was not a fair war of attrition injury. It happens.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I mean, I saw Sam Darnold went down at one point, and everybody was like, "Woof," because they won again, and Sam's playing great, and you say, "Wow, bang, he's gone," but then he was able to come back. This is Dan knows. Dan could speak about this better than me. This is a brutal sport. As much as they try to legislate it out of the game,
Never happened.
it is brutal. And that's the thing when you get late in the season, the guys playing aren't 100%, and everybody thinks they're on the field, so they're okay. I always use the Nate Gary example. Eagles fans hated Nate Gary, and the coaches, Jim Schwartz, Ken Flajoel, loved him. And what people didn't understand, they loved him because they needed him, and he played an entire season through a sports hernia because they needed him. So they loved him for doing that. But he didn't play very well, mainly because he was playing through a sports hernia. But, that's what a lot of NFL players do. They play through a lot of stuff. And a lot of it we never know about. The quarterback show on Netflix, I don't know if you guys saw it. People should watch that. What Kirk Cousins would go through to play every week was shown closely in that show, and he never appeared on the injury report. He was like half dead. They never put him on the injury report.
Yeah, no
That's
doubt.
probably what Hurts went through a year ago.
Yeah, football is a tough sport without a doubt. So I do want to move back into the defense a little bit, guys. I mean, look, coming off of last week, it was obvious what the biggest, problem with this team was when you talk about that run defense, when you talk about really just the defense as a whole, not getting after the quarterback, not being able to stop the run, not being able to set the edge. I thought they responded today beautifully. The defense looked like a different defense. It looked like a new team out there on the defensive side of the ball. Sills, I'll start with you. Just your take on how they responded today, coming off really a tough Monday night game, a short week, a brutal loss on Monday night just 6 days ago, and the run defense responds today in a big way.
Look, man, you could talk technique till you're blue in the face. You could talk scheme till you're blue in the face. Playing defense is an attitude. It's not a position. It's an attitude. And I was so impressed with the attitude. Hey, screw technique, one technique, doing the right things, following your reads, not watching the ball. Dude, it's one thing to sit there on a chalkboard. It's another thing to go in and apply attitude. And they had a nasty attitude. That's the best attitude I've seen in 3.5 months of Philadelphia Eagle defensive football. Was right there. They played with an attitude, and it started with the two young bucks in the middle. I think Jordan Davis had a hell of a football game himself.
Yeah, he looked good.
I mean, Seth Joyner said that last week on WIP. He was talking about him being a waste of a pick. And he showed, get this, these guys are hearing that. Okay, Jalen Carter, John said, he's sitting there. Finally, they had to make him roll up there and answer some questions, playing like trash. Dude, no, 13th pick and 9th pick. They don't want to answer to that kind of stuff. They went out there and played, did a better job at setting the edge. You know why? Because Brandon Graham had more snaps than Bryce Huff. What John said, if this game does not hammer down to Vic Fangio and to Nick Sirianni and the rest of the staff, your $51 million guy should not be starting ahead of Brandon Graham. Because when Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat were out there, the edges were more secure. You saw it. It was night and day when those two guys were in tandem out there. And it improved the linebacker play when they were setting the edge because the guys were scraping down their normal lanes. What did you see, too, also? Those linebackers, John pointed out, Zach Bond back up again. Why? Because the defensive tackles weren't getting blown off the ball into the back scrape lane, and those guys were getting washed down from Bryce Huff. They played with attitude in that football game, and I think they took it to them. If you really want to look at it, the Philadelphia Eagles may not have dominated them on the scoreboard, but I thought they dominated them for just above 50 of that 60 minutes of that football game.
Yeah. Gave up 89 yards on the ground. Coming in
dominating
150, whatever it was. One of the things I think we all looked at it coming in saying, oh boy, here comes the Shanahan offense and the play action and the stretch play. I think in some ways that helped the Eagles because they could play their 5-man fronts more. And they are way better defending the run when they use those 5-man fronts. So you had a lot of Jordan Davis on the nose, Jalen Carter, whether it was Milton Williams, then you had Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, as you mentioned, on the edge. Tough to run, tough sledding for Alvin Kamara. This is a game where maybe Clint Kubiak should have said, you know what, it's not working. Let me get an extra receiver on the field, try to get the Eagles into those 4-man fronts before it's 3rd and long and see if I can run the ball that way. But he didn't do it. And I think it really helped. Didn't do it often enough. I think it really helped the Eagles. They're not bad defending the run when that 5-man front's on the field. They've been bad defending the run when they're using their 40 fronts. And I don't know if we learned that they're better at that today. And maybe we'll get a better indication of that next week against Tampa Bay.
Hey, no doubt. Zander, remember we said somebody asked a question in the chat and the guy goes like this, 6 seals, how do you fix it? Well, you get mismatch. And like John just said, the 5-man was the difference in that ball game because New Orleans didn't have matchups that favored them in that run game. And they outnumbered them. And they had better play from their backers and filling the gaps and setting the edge. And I thought, again, that was the difference in the ball game there, too. That 5-man front, it outnumbered what they were going to do. So at the end of the day, you go back to what and how John started this whole thing. Vic went back and he really did scheme this thing up and said, let's go to a 5-man. And they did. And it really took away. Their attitude was this, Zander. Let's take Kamara away. You take Kamara away, Carr's not beating us. And I think that's what those guys were thinking because that's kind of how it played out.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, as a defensive player or defensive coach, you're at the mercy of the offense, right? If they're going to put 4 receivers out there, you can't play a 5-man front
or 2 tight end. You're right, you can't.
So the fact that New Orleans plays the way that they play, in hindsight, really helped the Eagles out because they could keep those 5-man fronts on the field more than they typically can, which helped them with the running game and then put the football in Derek Carr's hands. And Derek Carr's not going to beat you. And he didn't beat you. And I think that's kind of the way it worked during the game, and it worked out well. And I think if Clint Kubiak would have figured that out, I think maybe we're having a different discussion. But good for the Eagles. And by the way, the Eric McCoy injury, I mean, he was playing off the charts in the first 2 games of the season. The Saints center, and
huge loss.
Boy, they couldn't. They were just not the same team without him. But that happens. The Eagles lost 2 offensive linemen, one of the best in football, Lane Johnson, and Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson persevered. So I was talking about persevering without A.J. Brown. The Eagles were finally able to do it. They didn't score a lot of points. They never do when A.J.'s not on the field, but they were able to persevere, find a way to win the game with all these injuries. New Orleans was crippled by that one injury, and that's not going to serve well if that guy's not going to be out there. I don't know how difficult the injury is, but they ruled him out very early in the game. So that could affect their whole season if they don't do a better job figuring it out.
No doubt. Just your thoughts on the linebacker today. John, I'll start with you on this one. I thought Zach Baun returned to form today. He looked tremendous out there, flying all over the field. I'm not sure what his final stats were in the game.
13 tackles.
Wow.
And he's been, he's a great first game, really bad second game. And now he's back playing. I think, this was obviously he came from New Orleans, never got a tremendous chance to play down there a lot. So a lot to play for. I think he wanted to prove some things. So that factors in. I thought Nakobe had his best game of the season. He did get caught on that one play, looking lost in coverage, but that's Chris Olave. Like, that's the scheme. You got Nakobe Dean matched up on Chris Olave. Back to the drawing board, Vic. I mean, that shouldn't happen. So I don't know what people expect on that. He had a tackle for loss. They got to be more consistent, those two guys. But I think you see the upside that was certainly better than the linebacker group last year. There's a chance that gets better as the season goes on, I think. Nakobe Dean and Zach Baun. And I think we can close the book on Devin White. Ain't happening, people. Sorry.
No, I think what Baun did today, like John said, you're going to start seeing Trotter get more work in practice. Okay.
Yeah, I think Trotter might be ahead of him. And Oren Burks can play. He's played in the league, and Ben Van Sumren's sort of one of those guys nobody thinks about. But yeah, they're better equipped at linebacker pretty significantly than they were last season. That's a positive, I think, because the Eagles, let's be honest, they don't place a lot of assets, so it's about as good as you can expect with the kind of assets they put into the position.
John, I think one of the things that has to help the confidence of the players, especially on defense, is the amount of growth you had from the Atlanta game through the Saints game, because as a player, that's momentum. He wanted this and it worked versus this not working. Last year when you had that momentum go the other way, when you had Matt Patricia in there, it became a avalanche of poor play from pretty much everybody on that side of the ball. When you start to see things working and you start to buy confidence and you're starting to buy in to what they're doing like that, the amount of growth that they had from the Atlanta game to through, like I just said, the Saints game, that's going to carry a long way into the Buck game, because, you get confidence with what you're doing. And if there's success with it, you're going to continue doing that. That's how you build, like you said. Hey, Saquon Barkley makes that play on 3rd and 3 all the time. Well, guess what? We'll see if he can end up doing that play consistently and he can make that play. But when I watch what those guys did, especially up front, those two defensive tackles getting interior pressure like that, and Vic put him in a 5 front, hey, man, he put me in a better position to succeed. That's confidence, too, also, that your coaches, what they think and what they're doing is going to impact you and putting you in a position to succeed.
Can we give Reed Blankenship some love as well?
He played well today. Man, he did.
That dude. He is
another guy, John, that didn't play well last week, played well this week.
I don't think he played poorly. I'll say this. He's been the most consistent Eagles defender this season through 3 games. And number 2 ain't close. Because you've had some pretty big ups and downs with Zach Baun. From game to game to game, Reed Blankenship has been by far the most consistent Eagles defender. And man, that's another interception. That is tough to keep that ball off the turf, making that dive. And it was really close, and he got his hands under it, and they're looking at it, and they're looking for just that little glimpse of the nose of the football hitting the turf. He did the same thing in Brazil. Pretty good player, and nobody in Zander knows. Nobody in Philadelphia seems to know it. I don't know. pretty good player that people need.
He can play, John. You're right.
Yeah. They always draft. Well, he was undrafted. I don't give a shit. The NFL missed because he can play.
John, people don't get this, that half the league and half the rosters are undrafted players. So, I mean, just because you don't find a guy, look at TJ Edwards. He's one of the top 3 linebackers in pro football, and he was an undrafted guy.
Well, they don't know that either, Sills. They don't know that either.
Right? I mean, right? You mean some of the people, the great James Harrison from the Steelers, that guy was cut 3 times, played in the World League, Arena League, and now he's going to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I covered John Randall, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he didn't get drafted when the draft was 12 rounds, and he's already in the Pro Football Hall of
Texas
Fame.
A&I guy,
yeah,
not A&M.
A&I.
Texas A&I guy.
Texas A&I. And by the way, coming into this week, I know Prince. If Prince is out there, PFF top safety in the NFL, Julian Love. You want to guess who number 2 was? In the entire National Football League.
The Milkman, Johnny Mac.
Yeah,
good stuff there. John, I'm going to let you go, but I got one question left for each of you guys to answer. John, Sills and I will come back. We'll hit on everybody's super chats, and we'll engage with the chat a little bit coming out of the break. We're going to let Johnny Mac drop out of here. John, I'll start with you on this one. Saquon Barkley, man. I mean, he is a game changer. 65 yards. He takes it to the house. He just flipped that game on its head there was a point in this game the Eagles had 25 plays inside the Saints territory and had 0 points on the board until Saquon Barkley rushes it 65 yards to the house. What a game changer he has been for this team. Your thoughts on his game?
Home run hitter, man. Home run hitter. And like I said, he might go 0 for 3. And then all of a sudden, it's a big spot in the game, and he hits a 3-run home run. That's what happened today. 65-yard touchdown. And also give flowers on that play. Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson, they did a tremendous job. But he got to the second level, and he was gone. And that's something the Eagles haven't really had to the point. Miles had it a little bit, but he didn't have the power to get to the second level nearly as much. And when Saquon can turn it on, it's pretty impressive.
He's a better vision. He's a better vision runner, John.
Yeah,
than any of the 2 that's been back
better. The passing game I thought was overrated. Again, he's had the drop 4 catches today for 9 yards. That's coming. That part of it's overrated. But him in the running game is where he makes the difference. And you saw a big pass protection rep as well. He's a good pass protector, which is sort of a lost art amongst running backs in the NFL. So that's big. If he can deliver that big home run each and every week. I always talked about Saquon. It's not about the numbers, it's about the impact. And you saw it in week 1, impact. You saw it in week 3, impact. You saw it in week 2, bad impact. But when he makes that impact play in a positive fashion, it generally means very good things.
No doubt. Sills, your thoughts on Saquon Barkley today?
As advertised, I thought his best years were behind him. Now, the question is going to be this. This is the pessimist in me here. Lot of workload. Ton of workload for a player with a ton of miles.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah.
Okay. This guy had 900 carries at Penn State. This guy's had one of the higher volume. And last 4 years, he's had 2 substantial knee injuries. How many carries did he have today in the ball game?
17. They were actually down.
Oh,
17
good,
plus
good.
four touches in the passing game. So 21.
So am I right, John, when I say this? 24, 20, 22, 21, and now 17. That's great. Because here's what I want to see him do. His yards per carry is going to be the impact that he has on that, because when you get a 69-yarder like that and you only have those amount of carries,
it was
about a guy with 7-8 yards a carry.
8.6.
8 yards a carry. I don't need anything else. I've got the game in the bag. Here's the game, really. Look at this. Barkley had 8 yards a carry And what did the Eagle defense give up in yards per carry in this ball game? Right there. Those were the two things that were crippling the football team really in the first two games and making those games close. Again, the lack of points is something still to go over here a little bit. And maybe that's just going through the progressions of the Kellen Moore offense here a little bit. But, like I said, if you didn't look at the scoreboard and you just used your eyeball test and you looked at Barkley and the way they ran the ball, it looked like 22, and they dominated that football game. I mean, they didn't dominate it on the scoreboard, and that's the troubling thing about it because it keeps it a one-score game and a fourth quarter game. The Eagles don't want fourth quarter. No team wants fourth quarter games, especially a team like the Saints. But the Saints weren't scoring. But when they got that thing into the fourth quarter, I went like this. This favors Philly because Philly has all those injuries at the wide receiver position. Low scoring, I thought, favored Philly.
Yep, no doubt in that. And ultimately, it ended up favoring them. They got the win. Johnny Mac, your final thought there.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's about, since day one, it's about impact with Saquon. He certainly provided that. But to me, this is the Dallas Goedert game for a number of reasons. One, it looked like all hope was lost at the end of the game. You got you're backed up. You got a long situation behind the sticks. No A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no even Britton Covey. And as I mentioned, you're down to Jahan Dotson, who doesn't look good early in his Eagles career. Paris Campbell, practice squad guy being elevated. Rookie Johnny Wilson, who made a nice play, but let's be honest, you're not going to go to Johnny Wilson in a big spot. They had nothing. Jalen Hurts had nothing except Dallas Goedert. And he's able to make that play. But it wasn't just that. 11 targets, 10 receptions, 170 yards for a tight end. When is the last time a tight end had 170? I have to look that up.
No doubt.
Certainly an Eagles tight end.
That's Gronk.
That's his career. That's a career game for him, too.
Yeah. That's like Gronk and Kelsey type numbers.
Yeah. Wow. And we've been waiting for it to the point. And I get it. And Zander mentioned, starting to say it's a little bit disappointing with Dallas Goedert. But I always said, man, the guy's talented. Man, the guy's talented. Man, the guy's talented. You got to see his talent today. There aren't a lot of tight ends that can do what he did today in the NFL.
He is he's a kind of an athletic freak for his size. And you saw it today, as you pointed out, which he was really good today. And Carver in the chat points out Kellen Moore deserves some credit too. That was a perfectly called rub route that he had him on. Well,
I think that was more. Because I looked at it, I rewounded it because I thought, well, boy, I want to give credit to the guy who ran the rub route, and it was Jahan Dotson, and it was okay, but it's just Marcus Lattimore and I don't know who the second Saint. They just ran into each other.
Yeah,
but
was it Honey Badger?
I don't
think it was.
I was just surprised because coming into it, I'm like, it's got to be Dallas. Got it. You don't have AJ, you don't have Devonta, and you really don't have Saquon because you got to go 70 yards in a minute and a half. So you're not going to run the football. Like I'm thinking, if I'm Saints, I'm taking out Dallas Goedert and making him beat me with Jahan Dotson. And then there goes Dallas Goedert, 60 yards up the sideline.
Yeah, but that, and it's about, and you got a bit of a break because they ran into each other. But even when you get that break, when he turns the football up the field, you think, all right, somebody will recover a normal tight end. Maybe it's a 20, 25-yard gain, and you're like, oh, we got to really settle down. He turned that into 61. That's pretty impressive for a tight end in this league.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, we're going to talk to you tomorrow morning on Birds 365 from 8 to 10 a.m. Before we get to our break, just any final thoughts here on the post-game show for you before you drop off here on this game? 15-12, the Eagles win, move to 2-1 on the
persevering. They didn't do it last week. They got to get AJ back. I mean, this offense is not going to be the same. As much as, it's impressive. They put up 460 yards. We mentioned two guys, really, Saquon and Dallas.
John, what's your gut feeling on AJ against the Bucs? You think?
Well, it was going to be a couple weeks, is what he told Lisa Salters. So next week is starting to get closer. And you would think they have the bye week after Tampa, so they might play it cautious. But if they do decide to play it cautious, expect another ugly offensive game. If he's healthy, I don't care about the bye week. I got to get him on the field because he's the key to this offense.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, thank you, man. We're going to take a commercial break. Dan Sileo and I will be back. We'll kick it around with the super chats and the chats for a couple minutes. And then coming up later on after that, the post-game show, I'll let Johnny or Big Sills drop off, and I'll talk to some members of the chat if they want to join me on the show as well. Johnny Mac, great stuff, man. Let's get to our commercial break.
John.
The JAKIB Postgame
All right,
Show
thanks,
will
guys.
return in 3 minutes. Back after this.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in,
Decisions,
the dark.
the dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. That's my man, Dan Sileo, host of the National Football Show from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Something tells me that tomorrow's show on the National Football Show is going to be one you don't want to miss.
No, and as much respect as I have for John, I have no respect for the decision-making of the head coach. Jimmy Johnson and the entire Fox crew annihilated Nick Sirianni at halftime. They annihilated him in his decision-making.
Yep.
I completely disagree. Hey, everyone's entitled to an opinion. Nick can't, you know what? You can't dispute the record that he has. No question about it. But if anybody tells me that they think that that head coach is making the proper decisions and putting that team in a position to win and not making it harder for them, I completely disagree with that. And I'm not really going to argue it because it's there for your eyeballs to see.
Yeah, no, I was definitely more on board with you where, yeah, look, if you have a different coach in that game, you know, Sills, have we just gone so far away from like the common sense of the game? Like,
Common
are we
sense
really
of the
debating
game.
that we should have taken 3 at the end of the half?
Common sense of the game.
Sills, the end of the half one drove me up a wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude,
Stupidity at its finest.
Dude, there's 13 seconds on the board. Even if you converted that fourth down right there, you would have had what? 8 seconds for maybe one shot at the end. It didn't make any sense for me. So look, I do think Nick.
So how many points is that now? You think that the guys made poor decisions on? Is that 6?
Yeah, and look, on the flip side of that, I thought the Saints made a putrid decision by going for it on 4th. They went away from their game plan,
absolutely,
right? And they went for it on 4th. And I said those 3 points are going to come back to bite them. But Dan, all the analytics say. You shouldn't go up by 6. It's not worth it. I'm like, give me the 3. Now, maybe that's old school of me.
Those were two poorly coached football games, or excuse me, 2 poorly coached teams in that environment. No question about it. I thought Dennis Allen's group got out coached, and I think Nick Sirianni put his team many times in a poor position, especially offensively, when you know you don't have anything when it comes to really, quite frankly, think about this, Zander. There were 2 guys that made 2 explosion plays in the game. You take the 69-yard run out, and you take the 69-yard catch from Goddard out of it. I don't know. The rest of it looks, average.
Yeah. No doubt. Let's go to a couple super chats here, Dan. We're going to kick it around for about 15 minutes before I let you get out of Dodge. And then I will be doing the post-game show. So if you want to join the show, you got to let me know. No, there has to be a couple there has to be a couple people out there that are going to join for me to do it for an extended period of time. Akbar, are you out there? Joe Whip, are you out there? Can we get some new names out there? I need Eagle Nation to talk to me after this game. It was a big one there. Let's go to a couple super chats here. We'll start with our man, Prince, as Dan calls him, Princess. I call him Prince. Prince checks in. Yes, Jalen struggled at first, but after those turnovers, he stayed in the pocket and delivered the ball. Nick has a problem with his decisions. Prince, I'm with you. Look, I was very critical of Jalen Hurts last week with that decision at the end of the game. I thought he rose up today. I mean, you lose your two of your starting offensive linemen. You have no Devontae late in the game, no A.J. Brown. I thought he really rose up. I know it wasn't perfect. I understand he had 2 turnovers. He's got to get
back on the bandwagon, baby. I see it already.
Like you say, I don't flip-flop. Players change my decision. He came out today and delivered the goods. I'm giving him credit for delivering the goods and getting the team a win today. I thought it was good stuff. And by the way, with adversity, right? You don't have AJ, don't know Devontae. I mean, a lot of stuff. You lose. Sills, forget losing AJ and Devontae. I know that sucks. And Lane Johnson went down, Sills. I said this is going to be a problem.
Purdy can't do, and Purdy might do it today because they're beating the Rams, San Francisco, with losing guys like Deebo Samuel and Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. They may win that ball game. Jalen did it today with a lot of adversity on the football team as well. Okay, I will give you that. And unfortunately, this is one of Princess's best takes because everything he's saying here is true. He struggled. Okay. He's still with the turnovers, which is a massive problem. He stayed in the pocket. This is why, again, he got some sacks on him this year or that game and delivered the ball. Nick is the problem with his decision-making. I completely 1,000% agree with Prince. Prince, shockingly, with a great take.
Prince keeps delivering the great takes. Appreciate you, Prince. All super chats, by the way, will be hit. We had a couple in the beginning. Everybody wanted me to get to them. It's very hard, guys, to get to them all when you're doing a post-game show. I got to get through the game a little bit and get the recap. Remember, we post out the segments for everybody to consume after, so it is a little challenging, but I always will get to them by the end of the show. Flexing and Stepping gave us 2. He says, I'll take my crow with extra hot sauce. I love it, Flex. And then Flexing followed up. That's how Jordan Davis should be playing all the damn time. Flex, he showed up today without a doubt.
But see, that is exactly Flexing is dead on. I mean,
Flexing
get this,
right, 100%.
We're giving Jordan Davis credit. Listen to what we're doing here. We're giving Jordan Davis credit for doing things we expect him to do. And that to me is always a problem for me, giving that kind of backhanded congratulations to Zander. Great. You're doing what you're paid to do.
Right.
I mean, We're so shocked that he showed up.
Well, listen, so
That
I said
has
the
to
same.
be consistent, and you got to start somewhere.
I said the same exact thing about Jalen Carter. Like, look, Jalen Carter was tremendous. He was a game wrecker today. But at the end of the day, it can't be you're a game wrecker whenever you want to be, and when you don't want to be, you don't show up. We need week in and week out consistency from him, and I think we're going to get more of it. But
so you didn't mind Jalen Carter being an asshole at the end of the day?
I didn't mind it at all. But by the way, I thought John was wrong. Some of those Saints players, and look, I agree with you where it's football, man. The war of attrition, man. But they were playing dirty. So if the Eagles want to have a word with them at the end, I'm pretty good with that. I get it. It's football. But Jalen Carter, he was hot, man.
I thought that hit on Devontae. You know, I sat there and I watched it a couple of times. I looked over at my wife. I go, damn, I think they set him up with a high-low almost. It looked like a high-low
video on your social, too. I'm sure after the show when we're not, on the show.
Yeah, Zander, I thought it was kind of a high-low.
They spit on Devontae when he was down after that play. The one dude.
You're going to try to tell me they weren't trying to hurt him on that play and target him?
Trevor Penning Trevor Penning is a big tackle. He
drove that dude all the way to the
dude. He drove. I thought he was going to leave the stadium with Darius Slay when I was watching that.
I know. I thought that hit on Devontae was planned. It just looked planned to me that they knew if they took him out, that would help their chances of winning. By the way, think about what they did. So you take Slay out, Devontae. That's what the Saints mentality was in that game because it sure looked it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was a physical game. I like
what
you said, man.
That's an old school ass kicking game.
Yeah, with low scoring game, 15-12.
Hey, somebody really spit on Smitty? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, but that's what's going. I haven't seen the video yet because I've obviously been on the show and I haven't had a chance to go on socials and consume some of the stuff. But that's what the word is. So I'm going to check that out. As well. So let's get to a couple more super chats here. Brandon Snyder checks in. Sorry, John. It is egregious to go for it on 4th down at the end of the first half. Even if you get it, you're going to have one play to get a touchdown after that. Brandon, I said the exact same thing, man. No doubt about it. I think Nick is going to have to look in the mirror here on some of these decisions, whether John wants to cape for him or not, or say, you're going to be aggressive all the time. Like I said to John earlier, I don't believe any decision as a head football coach should be made in a vacuum, whether it's under the guise of aggression or analytics. Every decision has a different feel. Every game has a different feel. Every moment requires a different version of your decision-making. There's none of that. It's just like go, 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 go. It's a perfect example at the end of the first half. Dude, there's 13 seconds on the board. Take the damn 3. I don't give a shit what your analytics say. I don't care how aggressive you are in the past. Take the 3. Some of that drives me crazy how I feel like the critical thinking aspect is gone from it, Big Sills.
Absolutely, man. Everything you just said there. I mean, you got to be smart. And again, I asked John, he couldn't answer it. I don't believe the Eagles use applied analytics. I think the analytics applies to the game plan, and that's how they build a game plan. We said this last week. That's an analytical game plan. You're not taking, like Zander, having an analytics page and having a play sheet. They shouldn't be intertwined. You know what I'm saying? Your play sheet should determine the feel of the game. Right. That should be applied.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff there. Prince checks in. I will join Jalen Carter in a bar fight any day. Prince, I love it. That's the Philly spirit right there that maybe Big Sills doesn't understand. Prince. What is he, a Cali dude? This dude
Holy cow, man. This guy stands on a Tokyo phone book. Who you kidding?
ONSYN. I don't know how to pronounce that sucker. He checks in. Appreciate the super chat, my man. He says, I feel like the players played their tails off, made big crucial plays, and won in spite of the coaching. What do you think? Seems like a pretty good take to me. Sills, what do you think?
Absolutely. What we've been saying. Absolutely. SYN, no question about it. I thought the players played with a great aggression, especially on defense. Look, defense, Goddard, Barkley won that ball game.
No doubt. Saquon Barkley was tremendous today. I thought Jalen was too. Look, I hated the 2 turnovers, and we'll talk about that. 6 turnovers in 3 games here now for him. 26 in the last 21 games. It's too many.
How many touchdowns does he have in 3 games total?
Well, he had none today, right? Saquon had the running touchdown, and
he had none.
So he had none today, and he had, I want to say he had 4 or 5. So
he's got more turnovers right now going.
Than touchdowns. Yeah, he does.
Than touchdowns right now. Pretty elite.
Look, you're not wrong that it is a little bit of a problem. Sydney family checks in. Appreciate it, brother. Nick Factor -6, John. I think he means 6 points, and he's right. I mean, you're leaving points on the board constantly. I don't get it, but
Sydney, very nicely done.
Yep, no doubt. Nas checks in. This team should be 3-0 right now. I agree, Nas.
Comfortably, though, Nas, you're talking comfortably 3-0.
Yeah,
hey,
that game would have taken on a little.
You're 2-1 miserable like you were a year ago.
Yeah, that's true. And that's where I think you bring up a good point with, people were like, oh, it's a win. Why are you guys so negative? I don't think we're being negative. I think you're preparing to be a great football team late in the year. This is
about the entire 17, not about the first 3.
Yep, 100%, no doubt. Sean Mims checks in, take the 3. So we have a bunch of them. Good stuff, Sean. Thank you for the super chat. B-Mac checks in. Defense, Goddard, and Barkley were tremendous. No doubt, B-Mac. We mentioned all those players extensively on the show today, as well as the defense. Drew Pauly, I wish I brought this one up with Johnny Mack. Ed Reed, Blankenship should wild. I told you he a dog, I think he said. Yeah, he played good today, Big Sills.
Holy cow almighty, man. Yeah, he's a good player. He is. He's a good player.
He is. Well, he's playing good right now, Big Sills. You got to give him his credit for that.
He's a good player.
Yep, Gabriel Bobowski checks in. Gabe, what's up, man? He says defense was the star of the show. Hurts was up and down, but he did have success rolling left. Check the tape and stat. Other than the fumble, Gabe, you're correct. He made some big throws rolling to the left, which was encouraging to see.
Absolutely. Just too inconsistent. It's just still all over the place. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it looks herky-jerky without AJ. And then when Devontae was out there, but look, I'm not going to just dismiss it and go, well, I mean, he still sucked. No, that's not what happened. He made the plays that he needed to make. He put it in the hands of his playmakers. Hey, that little 5 or 7 yard throw to Goddard, Brady made a killing out of that, throwing that play to Gronk. How many times did you see Gronk catch that 7-8 yarder and then take it to the house down the sidelines, or having him out wide like that? That's what good players do. Give it in your playmakers' hands. That run by Barkley, though, I'll tell you this. I haven't seen a running back in Philadelphia since Shady McCoy run a ball like that. I mean, he ran away from people. Once it was over when he got to the second level. He
exploded on that run, dude. That was impressive to watch. I'm watching him. I'm like, God damn, he can run, man. Saquon Barkley.
You knew they weren't catching him.
Yeah, no doubt. He was on the move. I do want to get real quick, to Jalen. Matt Bird checks in 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, Matt. And then remember, Matt, he did have 2 fumbles as well now that he's lost on the season, which gives him 6 turnovers total on the year right now. And then I think he does have a running touchdown. So maybe he's up to 4 touchdowns on the year this year. Let me just double check that and make sure that I'm correct. So he's got 3 touchdowns in the air and 1 on the ground. Yeah, so he's got 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions or 6 turnovers right now.
How you doing? I mean, let's go here, right? Right? We got to be better than this.
No, look, you're right. I mean, look, I've talked about the expectation level, and we talk about wanting to win multiple Super Bowls.
Is he playing championship football right now?
I thought today he did in the second half. I think in the first half, 2 turnovers is never going to be championship football. And to your point, 6 turnovers through 3 games is not championship. Even if you forget last season for a second, I know it's 26 and 21 games or whatever it is. Even if you forget last season, 6 turnovers in 3 games is too many, and I know John, put the 1 snap wasn't really on him. It was on Juergens and the miscommunication and the interception today. John kind of gave him
but they're mounting.
Right. There are too many. It's too many, Sills. There's no doubt. It's too many turnovers, dude. Next one here. Prince says, sorry, I'm 6'2". Don't step on anything, titty boy. Prince, come on, Prince.
Take a knee, Prince. Go sit in the corner with a foiled hat, man.
Yeah, the last one here, Sills, before I let you get out of here. Unsure if this is true, but they are saying checked into the run play that Barkley took to the house. Lucius, that would be great because that means Jalen Hurts read the defense and where they were, what was coming, and checked down to a run. So I'll definitely do more follow-up on that and see what Johnny Mack can report on that. But great stuff there. Great stuff, everybody. I will be doing the post-game show. Looks like there's some people in here who want to join, so I'll be dropping the link after the break. Big Sills, I just want to give you a chance here. Your final thoughts. I'm prepared for a massive national football show tomorrow from 2 to 6.
Oh, yeah.
But just your final thoughts here on the 2 and on the win today. They win 15-12.
How about this? Last year, Zander and everybody on the post game and this and that kept ripping on me when you guys were 10-1. And I said it's the style of play that you should have a problem with. Your offense right now, obviously because of injuries. What's it going to look like in Tampa? Depending, we have to see what the casualty list is coming out of this battle here on what it's going to look like heading on the road to Tampa again. I mean, I'll give this to you. I think he was up and down. The head coach is a problem. I mean, and by the way, him talking to Jalen Hurts on the sideline so much and not having Kellen Moore in his face, talking to him about what sequencing of plays. I don't want to hear attaboys down there. What is Nick actually saying? I mean, what do you got? 2 head coaches? Who's making the final calls and decisions? Because if I'm not mistaken, Zander, he went back on the field and that's where the fumble occurred. So I'm like, I mean, dude, either get out of the way or make your role well known or have it more defined, because your decision making at the half and at the end of ball games, every single person I've heard so far text me, every guy, even Emmanuel Acho, everybody has texted me going, your coach, and even Craig Harton was on. He's going to say it tomorrow morning. That's the worst situational head coach and decision maker in NFL today. That's not just me saying it.
Yeah,
it's quite, people have won Super Bowl rings saying that this coach right now is in the way. And I think there's a point to that. I think Vic had a great day. Vic Fangio had a fantastic day today. I mean, they dominated on that side of the ball. They dominated a New Orleans team. New Orleans going to have a come-to-Jesus conversation, but that just shows you when that team plays to their level of expectations and energy on what they're capable of doing. We'll see if they can carry that over to Tampa and see if they can put 2 games in a row like that, because, Xander, the one thing they haven't done, they haven't been consistent in play on that side of the ball. Let's see if they can. They've played 3 games. They've had 1 exceptional game. The other one was okay, and the other one was terrible. So they're all over the place here.
I'll tell you what, Big Cells, I got the big screen in front of where I'm doing my show right now. I got the big screen on. Dallas Cowboys are about to go into halftime down 21-3.
They're getting murdered.
So this NFC East is ours for the taking. We got to play just good football here, clean up some of the mistakes. We are going to get into the playoffs if they continue to play like this, and the Eagles can win some of these close games. So, Big Cells, we talked about this a little bit. A lot of this first couple of weeks, man, it's got to be just cleaning everything up. So you're ready to go by the end of the year, but we'll see how it all develops. Dan, great post-game show today, man. Thank you for doing it. Appreciate everybody in the chat. We'll come back from the break and do the post-game show. But great stuff, Big Sills. We'll catch you tomorrow on the National Football Show. All right, brother?
Thanks, Xander. See you tomorrow.
2 to 6 Eastern tomorrow for Dan Sileo. Stay tuned, everybody. I'll be right back for the post-game show coming up next.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. This is now the official postgame show. I see my man Akbar in the green room. I'll be getting to Akbar in just a couple of seconds. Before I do that, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to remind everybody we will be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey this week. So if you're not a member, become a member now. The link is pinned in the chat. He went over 125 yards, which means we're giving away a jersey. One of our channel members. Every time Saquon does that, we will give away a jersey. So great stuff from Saquon Barkley today. He ran for 147 yards, I believe, Saquon Barkley today. So he was nothing short of tremendous, and obviously had the big breakaway run that put us on the board with that big touchdown run. Let me go to my man Akbar. I got a couple in the green room. Akbar, Abe, Hotsport, all coming up in a little bit. Let's go to my man Akbar joining the show now. Akbar, how you doing, man? We're 2-1. Akbar, welcome to the show, man.
I'm doing, dog. Oh, yeah.
Let's go,
Yeah.
Akbar.
Yeah. Listen, JAKIB Sports, including myself, everybody in the chat, we all shitted on Jalen Hurts this week.
Yep.
All week we've been really, really shitting on him. I know I have, like, really, really, really hard. And what I seen him do today, after the fumble, it seemed like he calmed down and he started doing everything that I was looking at for him to do. Spread the ball, climb the pocket, not bail. I heard Sills say he bailed out to the right a lot. I didn't see that.
I thought Sills was wrong on that too. And we'll check the all 22 and see. But Akbar, I'm with you, man. Look, I called Akbar. I called on him all week. I said, you gotta be great. Like, if you want to, you can't be relying on Jahan Dotson and everybody. Jalen's got to do it. And look, he did it today, man. 300 plus passing yards. Yeah.
Like, he still got a few deficiencies as far as, like, finding wide open people. But what I seen was, I felt as though when they started incorporating those quick passes, he was throwing the ball real quick. Like, as soon as he hiked it, he was throwing it. That kind of built his rhythm in order to start making completions. The ball was, he threw the ball almost 40 times tonight. He had over 300 and something yards. You know what I'm saying? I gotta look at the interception. I heard y'all say that it was Devontae's fault.
Yeah, that was John. I mean, look, I put a little bit of it on Jalen, but Devontae did run a pretty shitty route there. It looked like he almost fell at the top of it. But look, 6 turnovers in 3 games ain't great, no matter how you slice it up.
It's not. No matter how you look at it, it is not a good situation. The defense. Wow,
was right.
Wow, yo, the defense played lights out. Jalen Carter, my favorite defense right now, is the Jets. I love their defense. Their defense is awesome. I love that kid, Quentin Williams.
Yeah, Quentin Williams, Alabama guy. Yep.
Jalen Carter today looks like one of them dudes. Like, this is my take. I feel as though preseason is finally over. I feel like preseason is over. We didn't. None of the starters played and none of the preseason. They just started playing week 1. So that's kind of like, I don't know if you work out, right? You work out?
Yeah. I'm actually doing a 75 hard challenge right now, Akbar. 2 workouts a day, brother.
Cool. Well, this is the thing when you, like, say you take a a couple months off or something like that, and you come back to it. That first month is shit. Like that first month is so hard, like especially the first rep, right? So I say all that to say that these 3 games was about reps, even though they were playing C game football. Their reps are, they come in and get that defense has so much push today, so much push. Everybody's flashing off the screen. N'Kobe Dean, everybody played Reed Blankenship. Johnny Mack said something last summer, and I said something to Sills about it. You were there, and I was saying like how Johnny Mack said that Reed Blankenship was 14 on the PFF, right? And Sills kind of shitted on it, but how you like him now? He got 2 interceptions so far in 3 games. The season just started, and the defense haven't even been playing their best. But this is the best I've seen the defense play, and I don't know when. I'm talking about they look better than they did to me all last season.
All last
season, including in 10 wins. Like, I mean, Jalen Carter kind of stood out. Brandon Graham played his ass off.
Dude, he's unbelievable. Brandon Graham is unbelievable. He's an Eagle Hawk. I love Brandon Graham.
He need to come back another season, man.
I know,
he got
man.
more season any, man. Like
he looks, you're right, no doubt.
The only person that sucked all day to me was Nolan Carter.
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, he looks like he's on a TB12 diet when he out there. Like
vegetables. All vegetables.
He needs to lift. He needs to eat some beef. He needs to lift some weights. He looks real weak out there. I don't like his gameplay at all. I seen they targeted Keely Rango, and I mean that's fuck. I mean Olive's pretty good. Derek Carr is Derek Carr. You're going to get some completions. Like we're playing professional football here. Like you're not going to kill.
I want to get your take though on the on Nick Sirianni before I let you get out of here because I got a couple people I got to get to. But just what you thought of Nick Sirianni, man, because that's going to be a debate all week. I want to give you your chance to kind of lay out there what you thought of it.
My man, I was listening to y'all, and I'm not mad at Nick Sirianni. This is the 4th and 4 last week. The 4th and 4, that was bullshit. You should have took the points. Okay, but as far as the aggression, I'm not mad at the aggression as long as the right play is called. Like last week, instead of passing the ball to Barkley, you seen how he got a 2-point conversion from the same distance. You know what I'm saying? So if you'd have ran the ball, we'd be talking about 3-0 right now. I don't agree with the non-aggression tip. It's just what you do. You know what I mean? What play do we call?
So you're good with it. You're more in the Johnny Mack camp of that's what they do. They're going to be aggressive, and you're good to live with the results as long as you think they make the good play call.
Unless it makes the right play call. Like I shitted on Johnny Mack last week, but after seeing this game, I feel like he was correct. Like, but I still feel as though they should have ran the ball. But yeah, Nick Sirianni, I don't really think Nick Sirianni was a real issue today. Not like that. He was composed on the sideline. I mean, and who gives a shit what he was talking to Jalen about? Jalen got 300 and something yards. Like, come on, Dan. Like, shut the fuck up sometime, Dan. Like, and like, you know what I mean?
You've been listening to Big Sills long enough to know he ain't ever gonna shut the fuck up.
That's true.
No, hey, man. What do you think, though, man? Moving on from this game, you think we're in good spot moving into week 4 here?
I think we're gonna beat the bricks off of Tampa Bay as long as the defense plays like they do, and Jalen Hurts still keeps progressing. He climbed the pocket. Pretty soon, if he keep doing what he's doing this game, when he climbs the pocket, he's gonna find lanes to run when he feel like it. He barely ran today. After the fumble, I was like, stop throwing it, just run. But I mean, and he missed a couple people. But I mean, that pass to Goddard was that pass to Goddard was across the middle. He don't hardly throw across the middle, and the one time he do, what happened? Like he gotta keep doing that kind of shit. Not send Devontae out there so much, but I think I'm tired of seeing him throw to the numbers. Every time he throws to the numbers, he missed Goddard on the sideline. He throws back shoulder a lot. right? Mostly. Nah, that's not true because AJ, he caught a pass on the sideline. He threw it on his inside shoulder. So he just missed that play. But I mean, this is next. I see is I'm taking us from 9 wins to 10 wins. We had 10 wins right now. Those boys, they played their part today, man. I was very, very impressed. I was proud of them. The bull Jalen Hurts, he got fight in him all the way to the end. He really did his thing. And we ain't had AJ Brown. We ain't had none of our top receivers. You know what I'm saying? And the Bulls
We
still
lost
came.
Lane Johnson in the first half.
We lost Lane Johnson. So
I thought we were done for when he was gone, man. That's one that's tough to make up for.
Exactly. I thought we was going this for sure, but the offensive line, they played their part. They are a running offensive line. Saquon Barkley is fucking awesome. He's fucking awesome. He's all that. Jalen Carter, wow, like everybody played great. Kobe Dean, did you see the open tackle he had on Kamara?
I love the way he tackles Akbar. He doesn't. He might be undersized, but he does not shy away from anybody.
He needs to. Nolan Smith needs to get on the Kobe Dean's diet because even though he's a little guy, his pursuit and his tackles, he did great today. Zach Bowen did great today. Reed Blankenship, he got the interception. Brandon Graham was fucking awesome. Even Jordan Davis, he was great. Sweat, he covered the edge. Like they was really, really doing their thing, and I'm just so happy to see that. Despite the score, 15-12, so what? It was just one of them kind of games, you know. Yep. But they stopped the high.
A win is a win.
And they stopped the high power offense. We beat the shit out of a team that scored 70 points last year. That was one of my takes this week.
I saw that. I saw your take this morning on the pregame show that was on there.
Yeah, so I felt good about coming into this game. 33 was a little bit too high, but they did their thing, man. Without AJ Brown, without Devontae Smith, we had Dallas Goedert, and it wasn't Dallas Goedert the bust. He passed it to like 6-7 different people on the team tonight. And these are things that we want to see him do. We want to, if he would have lost, I still see his maturity and his progressions and his skill play. Like it looks like now, like he's starting to trust it more. Like, you know, he mostly would run right out of the pocket, but it seemed like he's starting to trust the process, and he's doing. If he keeps doing what he's doing, man, this bull could be good, man. He could be good. And I hate when I talk like this and then he plays like shit, right? but
welcome to commentating on football.
But yeah, man, I was really, really impressed, man, and so happy. I had the family come over. We watched it on the big screen. I'm watching Dallas get the shit kicked down their legs right now. And
that's why, look, Akbar, you try to weather the storm, but I got to run, man. All right, I got to get to a couple other people. Thanks for joining today, my brother.
All right, now.
See, man, there's Akbar joining us. I'm going to get to a couple more people. I got Abe. I got Hotsport Dez. I'm going to go to Dez now. We haven't had Dez on the show. I know he's a common chatter. Dez, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Eagle Victory Day, brother?
I'm pretty good, man. How you doing, Zander?
I'm good, man. Great to have you on. Just your take on the game today, Dez. Hard-fought victory, you know, but they get the win. I thought Jalen Hurts rose up a little bit today with 311 passing yards. Just your take on the victory today, my man.
The defense stepped up. Stepped up. I know what the conversation going to be next week. You know, Jalen Hurts turnover machine. Yes, Jalen has to clean those turnovers up. I'm sorry, I'm a little hoarse the game, Zander. But yeah,
are you down there in New Orleans?
I'm in New Orleans. I'm at the casino right now.
This is a live report right here from New Orleans. Dez, bring us inside the arena. What was it like in there? Did Eagle Nation take over like they always do?
Yes, man. Listen, you can follow me on Facebook, man. You can see my live. You can see all the footage from the game. You know what I mean? You know who that? We that. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying it all day.
Did you travel down there, or do you live down there?
Yeah, I traveled down there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great, man. Just your thoughts on the Nick Sirianni stuff too. Before I let you go, Des, if you want to just give me your thoughts on, because look, you talked about Jalen Hurts' turnovers. I think the bigger conversation this week will be Nick Sirianni and some of his decision making. Just your thoughts on some of those in-game decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I know Nick, he likes to go into the, being aggressive. He likes to lean into it. And I just think you can be aggressive, but to an extent. You can't keep taking points off the board. Especially
agreed.
Until the game, it was 3-0. I mean, you want to tie the game up, Nick?
Right. Especially in a game where points are tough to come by.
Yes. Yes, so I'm very disappointed with Nick. I think Nick is on a short leash. I don't see Nick being the head coach of this football team in the next 2 years. I just don't see it.
I mean, look, it depends on their success. If they keep winning football games, they're not going to let him go because he's been in the playoffs 3 straight years, obviously as a Super Bowl appearance. So if they keep winning, I don't think he's going anywhere. But you're right, man. Some of his decision-making is tough to watch, especially when you look at a roster as loaded as our roster is. You don't want to squander that talent with some dumb decisions,
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard to hear you.
No, you're good. No worries. Just your final thoughts here on the game, Des. I appreciate you checking in from New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, no problem. My last thoughts is, Dan, you're going to have to look at Jalen. You're going to have to see that he hit like 8 receivers. He's going through his progression, picking up the blitz. I seen him stepping up in the pocket. Dan, you're going to have to give my man a break. That's all I got to say. We in here. Go Birds, fly Eagles, fly.
Des, I'll be bringing it to Big Sills every day at 3:30 about Jalen this week. I ain't going to let him off the hook. Thank you for joining me, Des. I'll talk to you soon again. All right, brother?
What's up, man? Take care.
All right, see you, man. There's Des joining the show. Great stuff from Des. Let's go to our next guest. I thought both of our guests so far, Des and Akbar, as always, Akbar is great. We have a couple more that we'll get to. I'm going to go to Rashid Mixon next. Rashid, are you out there? I know your camera's in. I don't know if I see you. There he is. Rashid, welcome to the show, man. How you doing? What do you think of that Eagle win today, brother?
Oh, man,
great to have you on the show, man.
Exactly what they were supposed to do. Hey, thanks for having me here, man. Hey, that defense did exactly what they were supposed to do, man. Like, they showed us the potential that they got.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, Jalen Carter. Yeah, I got you, man. Jalen Carter steps up. Jordan Davis steps up. You're right. They were the big takeaways. Your thoughts on, I'll go to the offensive side. Your thoughts on Jalen Hurts today. I thought he rose up, with a lot of adversity, a lot of players missing. Just your thoughts on what he did today.
Jalen Hurts is my guy, man. Look, even last week when I was listening and you was down on him, he still completed 77% of his passes. He was good against the blitz, and he put us in a position to win, although he had those turnovers, He had the one turnover at the end of the game. That was one turnover last week. 77% of his passes. He did what he was supposed to do for his first time not having A.J. Brown this season, And then this week, 77% of his passes, 29 for 38. The interception wasn't even his fault. That was more so Smitty not running a whole route.
Yeah. Smitty, that was a bad route from Smitty.
So the way I look at how Jalen Hurts is playing good, he does have to he has to stop those turnovers most definitely. Like we won't get anywhere with him making them turnovers. We're not a Super Bowl contender if he continues to make those turnovers. But for everybody talking about they rather have somebody else, even with those turnovers, Jalen Hurts is still a top 15 quarterback in this league. He's in the upper half with the turnovers. So imagine him without him.
Yeah, if he gets rid of him, if he gets rid of the turnovers, Rashid, he's approaching elite level without a doubt. But look, he's got to do that, and he's got to continue to progress, which I think he will. Rashid, I want to get your take on the Nick Sirianni stuff. That's going to be a big debate all week long. What's your thoughts on Nick Sirianni coming out of that game?
You got to have a feel for the game. Like you said, it's not all about the analytics because they don't always go with the analytics. It has to be a feel for the game. I think he should have taken the field goals a couple times this game. Especially like you said, the points were hard to come by. It was 0-3, the whole half?
Yeah. With
0-3 for
halftime, the score was
first
3-0 at halftime.
And we had exactly. It was 3-point score at halftime. It could have been 6-3. Like we had an opportunity to kick 2 field goals, and we didn't do so. And like you said, it just has to be a feel for the game. Like it's we normally go for it. You're aggressive when you need to be aggressive. We should have took the points. It was a time when I was looking at the screen like, oh man, it's supposed to be 16-7 because we should have kicked field goals a couple of those times, So I think he was wrong in it. I like Sirianni, but he has to have a better feel for the game, especially when that's what his job is. It ain't to call the plays anymore. It's about managing the game the right way. You got to make good decisions.
No doubt. Rashid, you hit the nail on the head there, brother. Thank you for joining today. Any final thoughts before I let you go, man? I want you to make sure to be safe. You're on the road, I see, so just be safe for me. But any final thoughts here before I let you go?
Man, just fly, Eagles fly, man. And just remember, we talk all this downside stuff about us, but we once Saquon catch away from being 3-0, and we put hands on a team that put hands on each team that they played the last 2 games. 40-something points on Dallas, 40-something points on the Panthers, and they couldn't do that with us. Despite defense at home, So I think we're in good shape. Jalen Hurts, if he's better with those turnovers and that defense play like they did today, we'll be all right.
Good stuff, Rashid. Thank you for joining the show, man.
Saquon looking like the Eagles on CMC, huh?
Yeah, he looking good, my man. No doubt about that. He's been a great addition to the offense. Rashid, thanks for joining the show, man. We'll talk to you soon again, and I'll see you in the chat, I'm sure, this week. Thank you, brother. All right, see you, man. There's Rashid. Good stuff from Rashid. 3 great guests, man, on the show. We have the greatest viewers on YouTube. I say that consistently. They always bring the heat, and they're very knowledgeable. A lot of times you hear a lot of bullshit all over in chat boxes and stuff. And we have a very knowledgeable fan base. Let's go to my man, Abe. Abe, are you there? I know I see you. You're in the green room. There he is. I got him. So let me bring up my main man, Abe. Abe, welcome to the show, man. Birds win, brother. 2-1. What's your thoughts on the game, Abe?
Amazing, bro. If you look at the offense and you look at the defense and you look at what Des said, Akbar said, and what Rashid said, it seems like the identity of this whole team is being relentless. Everybody is, all for one and one for all.
It's a good takeaway, Abe. It really is. It's a good takeaway by you, man.
Literally, they all seem like they're trying to run on the same page, doing everything for everyone. And the fact, like, Jalen did not stop. He wanted to keep going. Like, what was it, like, over 20 passes? Like, what, 30?
Who, Jalen? He had 29. He was 29 of 38 today for 311 yards. Now, he had no touchdowns or anything, no touchdowns on the ground or through the air. But, I mean, look, 311 yards.
If Dallas was a little bit faster, he could have made that touchdown.
I know, that's true. Dallas got that was a tremendous play, though, by Dallas Goedert. What a game he had today. And then, Abe, your thoughts on the defense, man? How about them, though? The defense today, man. I mean, look, we were critical of them. I was so disappointed with the defense last week. I thought our season could be in jeopardy because you can't win with a defense like they looked last week. They come out today. They hold the Saints to 12 points on the board. Unbelievable day for the defense. What's your thoughts?
Knowing that we were the bottom defense coming into this game, going against a team that scored 44 points 2 weeks in a row, I was like shocked to see that we was hitting Derek Carr right into the face. Hands up by Jalen Carter blocking the pass. I was like, yo, Jalen Carter is in his bag. I felt like he really took it personal last week. And I guess they all took it personal after Smitty got hit. Everyone was going in. Everyone. And that's why I felt like Jalen Carter was right for talking shit.
Yeah. No, Saints they were aggressive today, man. They had some dirty play. I mean, you have a dirty play on Smitty, on Slay. And those are 2 of your top players. You got to take that personally. And it's football, man. You got to clap back. So I had no issues with what Jalen was saying at the end of the game. I think people, they immediately turned to, is he immature? And I get it. You don't want to take a penalty or anything there, but you got to talk your shit sometimes, right, Abe?
Exactly. You got to let people know who you came to play against.
Exactly. You're right, man. before I let you go, man, I want your take on the Nick stuff. Well, where are you on Nick? I mean, look, it's already being debated all over social media. I'm already getting messages on JAKIB and my personal accounts. The comments are flowing in on JAKIB Sports. The debate's going to be happening all week long. What's your thoughts on Nick Sirianni today and some of his decision making?
Left 12 points off the board. We wouldn't even have to struggle at the fourth quarter and have Smitty get hurt like that, in all honesty. But knowing that, like they say, the players relate the emotions that the coach gives them. Nick Sirianni wanted to go and be relentless on the fourth down. He should have just went and ran it. When Barkley had ran it 3 times in a row to get a first down. That's exactly what they should have just did. If you wanted to go for the fourth down, but you went and tried to go for a pass that's like 50-50 ball against wide receivers that we don't even know how can catch. I mean, I felt like he should have just took the punt.
Yeah,
kick it in for a field goal.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, I mean, just a little update for all my Eagle Nation out there. It's now 28-6. The Ravens are throttling the Dallas. That Dallas defense, that's going to be a problem, man. They gave up 40+ last week. Now they're giving up 28 so far to the Ravens. Abe, thanks for checking in, man. Great takeaways on the game today. I'll tell you what, Abe. I know you'll be listening to the shows this week. I'm going to use what you said about their identity becoming relentless, because it's a great takeaway on this football team. It's not only Jalen Hurts, but it's really become this team where they might be down, but you can never count them out until that whistle blows. It was a great takeaway by you. I appreciate you joining the show again, Abe.
No worries. Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby. Thank you for doing it, man. There's Abe checking in. One final guest. I'm going to go to my man, Hot Sport, coming up next. I'm going to make sure I got no super chats over here. Thanks, everybody, by the way, for all the support today. As always the greatest fans on the world here on JAKIB. So thank you all. Let's go to my man, Hot Sport. Hot Sport, welcome to the show, man. What were your takeaways on the game today, brother?
Firstly, I just want to say that while everybody thought the sky was falling last week, 6 days ago, I came up here on your show and I said I had to remain consistent and that there was nothing to worry about, guys. Everything is going to be okay. Did I not say that, Zan?
That's that Euro pessimism or optimism you got, brother. We don't have that in America. You don't understand, man.
You can't just flip-flop every week. Oh, you lose. Oh, we're only going to win 5 games. You win. We're going to win 17 games. It doesn't work that way. You like I have us down for 12-5, and
that's pretty good.
Actually had us winning last week and losing this week, so it's in the reverse. And look, all I have to say is, look, I was frustrated for most of the game in terms of we didn't get on the scoreboard for the first 3 quarters. And you brought it up on this show, Nick Sirianni. Look, it frustrates me, but I get it. Like, I get the aggression, but sometimes it's too much. You got to take the points at some point. But look, what I want to say mainly is about 2 things. Number one, our defense. We just took on a team that scored 91 points through 2 games.
Yep.
And our defense apparently is terrible. Shit. Can I say shit?
Yeah,
apparently our defense our defense, I was told our defense is shit. Right? And everyone thought, oh, our defensive line is awful. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are busts. Oh, the linebackers are the worst linebackers. Your boy Sileo given to us all week. Oh my God. Like, I had to, honestly, I'm sorry I have to be candid here. I had to turn him off for a bit because I'm like, oh, damn, it's just too much. And look, we stepped up. They had 3 points also through 3 quarters, right? And they get the pick at the very end of the game. And Vic Fangio, shout out to him. What an amazing job. This team really showed some balls today. And the other thing I want to cover is our quarterback, because with the game on the line today, 3rd and 16, he finds Dallas Goedert, and he did it when it mattered the most.
Good point. 3rd and 16, by the way. Nobody else has said that. 3rd and 16. I thought for a second there
he had just got sacked as well.
And if they don't complete that, if they don't make a big play there, that game could effectively have been over. If they don't complete that 3rd down, they get a lot more than 16, obviously. But great point, Hotsport.
Yeah, and yeah, people are wanting to see what Jalen can do as a top quarterback in the NFL, and I still believe it today. No, Devontae goes out with a concussion. No AJ. He's missing Lane Johnson. He's missing Mekhi Becton. and the dude puts the team on his shoulders. I know Saquon did, he broke a huge run and stuff, but that 3rd and 16, dude, massive. And I'm so proud of this team. And as I said, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. And Dallas is getting the shit kicked out of them right now. So.
Yeah, they're down 28-6 right now. They're getting more than the shit kicked out of them. They're getting the shit and the piss kicked out of them. Hot Sport, thanks for joining in, man. Great takeaways. Again, as always, looking forward to talking to you again soon. All right, brother?
Yeah, no worries.
All right, thanks, man. Good stuff there from our man Hot Sport. I think he's over. What did he say he was? He was in Australia last week. Those Euro guys, man. They're always optimistic, but you got to love it. Good stuff from Hot Sport. Let's go to my man, Bob Brown. Bob in the green room. What's up, Bob? Welcome to the show, my man.
Xander, how you doing today, buddy? We all good?
I'm great, man. It's great to have you back on. I had you on once before. This is the first time I'll have you on the post-game show. But you are a wise Eagle fan, Bob. You've been around for a long. You told me the stories last time you were on of how long you've been following this football team. I'm going to ask you a more general question, Bob, just because I think you have a lot of history with this team. What's your general feel after 3 weeks on this team? Does this look like a contending team? Does it look like the problems that they have are ones they can fix? I mean, what's your general feel on this team as you approach this season after 3 weeks?
I'll say it to you this way, pal. If we had not pooped the bed last week against Atlanta, and we were 3-0, we would be chirping like last year when we were 3-0, and we would not know what our true deficiencies are. After what we saw against Green Bay, and we won a game, we lost a game we should have won in Atlanta. We lose. We come in with our best offensive player on the bench. We lose Batman. Robin gets put on the bench with that cheap shot in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. Barkley, they finally decided, I don't know, second half that, hey, we're paying this guy a lot of money. Why don't we use him?
I know, man. If you rewatch my halftime show, which nobody should because now it's old news, but I was ripping them. I'm like, why does Saquon Barkley have 5 carries through the first half?
Yeah, absolutely. And the best defense we have is time of possession. Our defensive line for the last 2 weeks has been poor, and this week they played out of their minds. I don't think the defensive line is as bad as they've shown the first 2 weeks, but they are nowhere near as good as they showed this week. Somewhere in the middle, okay? And I am going to take exception to John's point about the choices and Sirianni's, way he calls plays and the 4th down nonsense. I equate it to this, right? We all watch the Sixers. The Sixers run the game through Embiid. When Embiid is out, you can't run the same way because you don't have that talent. When A.J. Brown is out, you cannot run Smitty across the middle in the end zone and expect that he's got the body that he's going to push through. You cannot. Next man up is great in theory, and the next guy has to be ready to play, but the scheme has to adjust for the players that are there.
Right.
And he does not do that. And now, hopefully, between now and the end of the year, that Kellen Moore will see this in films, and he will be able to put together a scheme that says, when I'm losing AJ and my number one guy is no longer Batman, it's truly Robin, I have to not rush the middle of the field, or I have to replace AJ with Goddard. Or maybe I have to get Johnny Wilson. That's the thing that bugged me. AJ is out. Smitty goes down. Johnny Wilson is finally getting a little bit of attention. You have to work those guys in, because if you don't, when all hell breaks loose, you can't take a kid and throw him on the field and expect him to perform like he's in college. It doesn't make sense. And again, Sirianni, he's the devil we know. We're going to have him. If we win, he stays. If we lose, we're all going to have to gut through it, and then you have to see how it plays. Okay, that's where we're at. But you can't say next man up and our scheme doesn't change, because there is no other receiver on our team, and I'll say probably only one other receiver in the league with the physical skills that match DK Metcalf. That's it. He's the only guy that can take the top off the jar and run deep, but he can also go across the middle and knock people down.
Yep. It's good. It's a great take. It's 100%. It's 100% true, especially when you saw Devontae get throttled in the middle of the field today. Bob, your thoughts on Jalen Hurts? He's got 6 turnovers now through 3 games. I think that's a little bit of a worry when you talk about a team that has aspirations to win a Super. We don't have playoff aspirations, Bob. We don't even have NFC East aspirations. We want to get to the Super Bowl and win it all. 6 turnovers in 3 games is too many. With that being said, I thought he was great today in the absence of some big players. Lane Johnson goes down in the first half. So I thought he was great today, but just your thoughts on what you've seen from Jalen Hurts so far this year.
So if you notice the turnovers that Jalen has, I think with the exception of one, those were passes over the middle, which we've all agreed he's learning how to work the middle of the field.
Yep. It's a harder game.
The interceptions are always a problem, but he's trying to work the system in the middle of the field. Making mistakes in the first 3 or 4 games is a problem. If he's making the same mistakes in weeks 8, 9, and 10, that's going to be a real issue. But the thing I love about the kid, his composure doesn't change. He has a bad, he gets off the field. Now, he hasn't been sulking on the sidelines. At least they haven't been showing him sitting by himself like he's in timeout. I think watching Sirianni walk over to him and try to engage with him, that relationship is still appears to be, from my stance, very cold.
Yeah.
Like, he's the coach. I have to deal with it. Okay, get out of here. Similar to the other night when the Jets, when the coach went over to give Aaron Rodgers a hug and he kind of pushed him off and said, get out of here. That's the kind of relationship. And I don't need Jalen. I don't need Jalen and Nick to get along. It would be great if they did. But that's irrelevant. That doesn't butter my bread. But Jalen has to be comfortable enough to say the scheme isn't working. He has to know on the fly, I can't throw to Devontae across the middle like that. He has to be able to audible out and find the open spot of the zone. And he's done a fairly good job with that. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been great, but it's 3 weeks into a new system. As Dan has said, the scramble to the right is a huge problem. Olsen said today he's heard that Jalen doesn't like to roll to the left because that's where all his turnovers happen, which I think is peculiar because he never really runs to the left. I don't want that kid doing a normal scramble drill. When things break down, I want the RPO Jalen's head to click and say, make the first guy miss, beat someone to the corner, turn the corner, gain 15, get out of bounds. Because he's not ready to step up in the pocket and find the guy down the middle. He's not there yet. Hopefully he's there by the end of the year. But as you've noticed, running that ball with Barkley, it's a lot of tape that defensive coordinators are going to have to say, we have to make sure that Barkley doesn't beat us.
No doubt.
2 wins, Barkley's 1.
Yep, no doubt. Bob, is Nick Sirianni going to hold this team back from their potential?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And the reason being this, he's like a barnacle. If you've ever done any sailing, he's like a barnacle on a ship. It does nothing. It's just a drag. Now, there may be something inside the facility that I don't know about. Maybe walking down the sidelines and talking to the linemen and doing the morale cheerleader stuff. Okay. That some players may like that. Jalen clearly doesn't. But until I see that he can make the right 4th down call, he's a barnacle on the side of the ship, and it's just a drag, and it's going to be in the way. Because when it's crunch time and he hasn't been used,
That's harsh, brother.
Well, what's this? Again, we've joked about it and we've argued. What's his purpose on the team?
I know.
He does.
You're right.
I mean, he doesn't have play calling, so now he has time management. He has when to bring out and do fake plays, fake punts, and that type of stuff. And he has 4th down responsibilities. How is he done? Like time management, we run the ball. He really didn't have to worry about the clock. He screwed up 4th down. Again, there was a shot at the thing, and you saw it. Kids sitting in the stands yelling, what the F are you doing? Take the 3 points.
Bob, sometimes it feels like the common sense of the game is just gone. It's like even John, and I'm going to talk to John about this on Birds 365 this week, but I get it. He's like, Nick is going to be aggressive. He's always been aggressive. He's going to be, and I'm like, does that mean you just don't think about the common sense approach in certain instances? It's amazing.
John is a really good guy, and he's an institution. But John has, I believe, some very strong connections inside of that organization. And John,
I can tell you how the PR department handles it if you're not. So I get it.
I get it, but he is reciting what he's been told from the team. Someone in that organization likes the aggressive nature of Nick Sirianni, but there's a time to swing for the fences, and there's a time to move the runner over and play small ball. And until Hurts is comfortable playing with the entire field sideline to sideline, then we need to play small, boring football, move the chains, and win some games. Now, if Smitty's out, because if Smitty can play next week, that's great. But if he doesn't, that may be a blessing, because then Jalen's going to have to get comfortable getting the ball to Goddard, and Goddard's not going to be outside the hashes. He's going to be between the numbers, so he's going to have to work in the middle. You're going to use Barkley more, which is going to help the right side of the line, which probably won't be the same next week. We'll have the two guys playing that finished up the game. Just dumb it down to make it simpler. Let's win some games and continue to grow. Sirianni does nothing to help with that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, it's a concern, no doubt, and you know, I'm sure it'll be kicked around Philadelphia on sports radio and on JAKIB Sports and everything all week long. But, you know, they're 2-1, Bob. If they keep winning, man, Nick ain't going anywhere.
Well, just, again, we were 10-1. 2-1 doesn't matter. Unless you win the last game played of the season was not a success when you have the money invested on that side of the ball that we have.
It's true.
We expected to win games 35-31. We were expecting to play in shootouts while the defense was getting its feet under them. Well, our defense didn't have its feet under them until today, and we got away with under 20, and we got a win out of it. We can't count on that. And Tampa Bay has our number, and they're going to be pissed off because they shouldn't have lost to Tennessee.
Oh, God, they got destroyed today.
Yes. So they're going to come look at now. It's Baker Mayfield. Let's not act like we're playing against Mahomes or Burrow. It's Baker Mayfield. He turns into a pumpkin a couple times a year, but he normally doesn't do it 2 weeks in a row.
It's true. No doubt. Bob, great stuff, man. Great takeaways today. Great to talk to someone that's been a fan of this team for a long time. Appreciate you joining the show today, Bob. I'll talk to you again soon. All right, my man.
You guys have a good day.
Yep. Hopefully I'll see you in the chat this week. All right,
absolutely, man. Brother.
Yep. All right. There's Bob Brown. Great stuff. Everybody, great stuff as always today. I see a couple people now in the chat. Joe Whip, you're wrong, my man. I was calling for you earlier. I actually gave you a name drop on the show, Joe. I said, where's my man, Joe Whip? So you weren't in here. I think you were at the dinner, you said. But anyway, appreciate everybody in the chat today. Great show, as always. I love the post-game show, the post-game show, talking to you guys, getting a sense of the vibe of the team, of the fans, of what you guys think, because you guys, at the end of the day, are a big part of this network and this channel. Sydney, I saw you check in and you dropped out, brother. I don't know what happened with the connection. I was looking forward to talking to you. But anyway, that's going to do it for the post-game show tonight, everybody. Make sure you go over to the JAKIB channel. There's going to be a couple clips of the show. So if you didn't catch the full show, the opening was tremendous. Johnny Mack and Dan Sileo, a major debate on Nick Sirianni. I thought, I'm going to side with Big Sills a little bit more in that one. I think some of these Nick Sirianni calls have to be better. But anyway, nonetheless, thank you all in the chat. Hit that like button. Appreciate all the support today. I want to thank our new members. Komu Dose, who I've never seen in the chat, but he might be looking for a jersey. He becomes a member. Christopher Chapelier becomes a member. Never seen him in the chat, but appreciate him becoming a member. And the real RMP, that's one I have seen in the chat. So thank you, RMP, all of you guys and the super chats as well. Terry Hayes, Jason 18, Flexen and Steppen, the ARS bench, Relative Time Works, a bunch of you other guys in here. Mad Bird was in here. Appreciate all of the support of the channel as always. You guys are the absolute best in the world. So thank you guys for your support. That's going to do it for the post-game show, everybody. As I mentioned, go over and check out some of the clips I post tonight from the show. And I'll catch you guys next time, really tomorrow morning on Birds 365, 8 to 10 a.m. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. The Birds are 2-1, everybody. Go Birds. See you next time, everybody.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES. Eagles.